The cast of the movie Stand and Deliver came together today in downtown LA to celebrate their co-star Vanessa Marquez. South Pasadena police shot and killed Marquez during a wellness check at her home.
The cast of the 1988 movie Stand and Deliver honored their co-star this afternoon at the Los Angeles Theater Center.
We've all been very close. This is our first family member that we've lost.
Her fellow actors also considered Marquez to be a trailblazer.
Vanessa's work speaks for itself and her work ethic. We have come to a place in Hollywood where there is more inclusion, but it was people like Vanessa who opened that door.
She wouldn't be who she was if she didn't have this incredible desire to be someone.
She was always very shy. She had that little mousy voice.
What you got?
Missing 25%.
She blossomed. She could sing and she could do comedy.
She was hilarious. She was hilarious.
I'm so nauseous, oh so nauseous. It's obnoxious how nauseous I feel.
She's a real inspiration to young Latino women everywhere, you know, and to actresses everywhere, regardless of your background, that if you believe in yourself and you're fierce enough to do the work, you know, that you can stake out your own territory and make a life out of it.
Well, greetings, imagination connoisseurs. My name is Robert Meyer Burnett. I'm very honored to welcome you to Midnight's Edge stream of the Stand and Deliver cast reunion. Let me bring on Paulie from Latino Slant and Tom from Midnight's Edge. Gentlemen, once again, I am greatly honored that you've brought me in to be involved in another monumental cast reunion. I cannot thank you enough, and I cannot tell you how excited I am for this stream.
Well, the honor is ours, of course, and Paulie deserves a big bunch of props, along with Jeffrey Rivas and all the guys over at Edge Español, like Mike and everybody who's done everything to put this together. You guys have done an amazing job, and I'm just blown away that we were able to pull this off, and we're here, we're doing it. So, Paulie, take it away.
If you told me that my heroes were going to be on this stream, I would never believe it. We have waiting in the green room the cast, of course, and Mr. Olmos and Mr. Lou Diamond Phillips. So this is amazing. I'm going to work a little differently, and I'm so happy to have you, Robert, of course. And we got to do Blood In, Blood Out. That's how this started. I mean, it really started with a talk with me, Tom, and Jeff Rivas, you know, and we've been, you know, this is our second time now raising money for the Latino Theater Center. So speaking of that, we're going to be doing the super chats a little differently. Let me get this bunch out of the way really quick, and then let's bring in Jeff Rivas. Is that okay with you guys?
Sounds good.
Great. Glogo for $6 for a good cause. That 70s rock fan, $20. I'd like to thank Paulie and the team for putting this together. Thank the cast and crew for joining us today, making such a wonderful movie.
Thank you.
Terrence Tau Canote, $5 in memory of Vanessa Rosalia Marquez, talented actress and dear friend. Thank you, Terrence, for being here. Thank you for being here, man. Mexican Iron Man for $10. Also for the Latino Theater Company, the memory of Miss Marquez and all the wonderful work of the Latino Theater Company for the community. Orale.
Speaking of Mike, thank you so much.
Thank you, Mike. Mexican Iron Man producing backstage. That 70s rock fan again for $5 for the wonderful Mr. Olmos, as well as your great work. I was thrilled to see you on the documentary for the late, great Bobby Keys. Okay.
Wow. There you go.
I got a couple more here. And Grand Wazoo 42, I believe that's 50
euros.
Great. This is international for the good cause of the Latino Theater Company. And for bringing this panel together, I'm so honored to be here today. We're honored to have you. $5, no message, but we know very well. She's a great supporter to all our channels. That 70s rock fan, otra vez, $5 for the wonderful Mr. Lou Diamond Phillips. It is entirely your fault, sir, that my wife and I now speak without using contractions. Oh, that's funny. And D. Bud Martin for $5 for a great cause and the great people on this panel. That's the first round. I will be coming in every 15 minutes with super chats. But now, gentlemen, let's bring on the other main culprit of this stream. One of the founding members of the Latino Theater Center, Jeff Rivas.
Hey, everybody.
Jeff.
Look, I know you guys are limited on time, so I just want to thank Midnight Edge,
Morning.
Latin Slant, all you guys for helping put this together. Mr. Olmos, Lou Diamond, the rest of the cast, Will Gauthier, Lydia Nicole, Danny Vidal, Patrick Baca, Ingrid Oliu for coming to making this happen. All the money raised today is going to go to help keep our doors open. We've been shuttered for the last year. We run an 80,000 square foot building downtown. So thank you again. Answer all the questions. I hope your fans have a great time. You guys have a great time.
Thank
Enjoy.
you, Jeffrey. We appreciate it, man.
Take care, Jeff.
All righty. Take care.
Amazing.
If I can just say again to all the people in the chat, share the link, let people know that this is going on, and donate.
Yeah.
It's a terrific cause.
I think we shouldn't waste any more time, right, Robert? Sorry,
No.
I didn't mean to stop
Oh
on
no,
you there.
I was absolutely no. I was going to say, I think what's so exciting. I was a kid growing up in Seattle, and I didn't know much about Latino culture. And my father, who didn't like to go to movies very much, came to me. I think I was 13, 14, and he said to me, "Bob, there's a movie that's starting out that are coming to the city that I really want to see," and I knew nothing about it. And my father was telling me, well, it deals with something that happened in Los Angeles in the 40s, and it's kind of a musical, and do you want to go see it? And I don't think my father had ever asked me to go see a movie ever. And he'd taken me to movies, but he never wanted to see one. And this movie he wanted to see. And it was a movie called Zoot Suit. And we went. And it was this kind of hybrid of theater, musical, and film. And it had a character in it that just Pachuco. And he was one of the coolest characters I had ever seen. And it was about a culture I didn't know much about. And it sort of instilled in me this desire to find out more about it. And that was Mr. Edward James Olmos in a role that just knocked me out. And as a burgeoning teenager, I wanted to know about this and find out what it was all about. And as a performer, suddenly I started seeing him everywhere. I saw him in Wolfen. He was Gaff in Blade Runner in 1982. And then, of course, he was on the #1 TV show in the mid-'80s, Miami Vice, where he was cooler than Crockett and Tubbs. Castillo, one of the great characters on television of the 80s. And by the time you saw episode 8 of the second season, Bushido, he was wielding a samurai sword, protecting a family from the KGB. And in all of that, I mean, I would see anything that he was in. He just classed up the joint. And it was amazing to see him. And then, of course, in 1988, Stand and Deliver came out. And this was after, of course, he'd won a Golden Globe and an Emmy for playing Castillo. And yet, in another chameleon-like performance, he played Jaime Escalante, a famed Los Angeles teacher that brought, who would have thunk, calculus to the inner city, to East Los Angeles schools, which was amazing. And I think when we all watched this film, anyone who saw it at the time, which I did, was knocked out by it. In that film, also, we saw Lou Diamond Phillips, who coincidentally was also on an episode of Miami Vice. I don't know if they met. I wanted to ask them if they did, but please give a warm welcome to Mr. Edward James Olmos and to Lou Diamond Phillips, who were they made the backbone of this film, and we're so honored to have them. So, gentlemen, welcome to our stream. It is such a great honor to have you both here.
Yeah.
Hello, Lou.
You look fantastic, Eddie.
Yeah, let me tell you, what Robert didn't say is that you are probably the star of stars, my dear friend. Before you did Stand and Deliver, he did La Bamba.
Yes.
And that movie ended up becoming an iconic film that to this day we're so grateful that he was on time and understood with passion the art form to make that film come alive. Because I think that was your first performance, right, Lou?
Well, it was my first film in Hollywood. I had been doing smaller roles and a bunch of independent stuff, theater in Texas at the time.
Right. Yeah. Well, you came out of you studied in Texas and you did a great job. Your teachers know you're very proud of you. But I got to tell you, when I told him before we started here, I said, please do not speak to him in Spanish. Blue Diamond is the most Mexican or Latino Filipino in the world.
That's it, man. I'm Latino adjacent. And I got, I'm going to answer your question really quick, Robert, about Miami Vice. I've told this story a million times, but I did La Bamba for scale. We finished in June of '86. I was almost out of money. I was almost out of money. I was going to have to move back to Texas, even though I was like paying $300 a month sharing a house with 4 people in Hollywood. And the next, nobody was going to hire me because I was this unknown kid from Texas, about a fairly unknown rock and roll star at that time. He was kind of a footnote to Buddy Holly. So that nobody was betting on me, to be a movie star at that time, And so I landed a gig on Miami Vice in January of '87.
Wow.
And Eddie really was the only guy who knew who the hell I was, because he had done Zoot Suit with the Valdez brothers, with Danny and me, And so Eddie knew that I was in La Bamba. We had one scene together, one scene. And after that scene, Eddie graciously said, "What are you doing next month?" No, you want to have lunch? He goes, "No, I'm doing a very important movie. Call this number. I would like you to be in it."
Wow.
So Eddie Olmos is the reason that I am in Stand and Deliver.
Wow.
Yep.
Now, what was it like? I mean, to ask, what was it like for you to have done a movie like La Bamba and have it not come out yet? And like you said, you knew this film was coming out. You probably knew it was great. I don't think anyone would have known what a phenomenon it did become. But when you're in that position as an actor where you've done great work that no one's seen and you're kind of in limbo, how does that feel?
It still happens to this day, right, Eddie? I mean, you can bust your ass and pour your heart and soul into a project, and then nobody sees it. So at this point, with La Bamba not having come out, Eddie was taking a gamble on me. Eddie was taking a risk on me to give me, recommend me, endorse me for the role of Angel. But then again, he did that for so many people. Danny Villarreal is in the film as an actor because of Eddie. So I mean, he was the godfather to so many of us in this. And at this point, when I went to film, Miami Vice, there was no guarantee that La Bamba was going to be a hit. Absolutely zero guarantee. It was a negative pickup through Columbia. We didn't know if they were going to promote it. We didn't, I'd seen the film. I knew it was wonderful.
Right.
But that's no guarantee of box office success. I mean, we see films all the time that get discovered, years afterwards that don't do well in the beginning. So I had hopes, most certainly, but I had no guarantee that it was going to launch my career.
Yeah, funnily enough, one of the reasons we're here today is La Bamba, and we'll get into that story maybe at another time because that's a whole nother film. But yeah, we're just so glad that happened the way it did, and we're glad to have you guys here. So
I'm gonna take myself out, and you guys continue. It's been a pleasure. I'll be backstage working.
I was gonna say, okay, well, thank you, Paulie. I was just gonna say, I know. So Robert, you had a question to kind of kick things off here with how this even came about, I think.
Yes, I mean, before we're going to bring in Brandon from the Daily Chela to ask some questions, but I was talking with Mr. Olmos earlier. Mr. Olmos, how did Stand and Deliver come about? Because one of the things that I really love about it is it existed in both the independent film world. It was nominated for Independent Spirit Awards and Academy Awards. So it really, I think it embodied the spirit of independent cinema as well as being a big Hollywood sort of crowd-pleasing production. How did this movie come about, and how did you get involved?
Yeah, the film came about because of the story itself, all the incredible journey that these kids took that was discovered when they passed the hardest examination that you can take at that level, high school level in the United States, which is the advanced placement test in calculus. And only 3% of the students in the country that can take the test take it, and only 3% of that 3% pass it. So it's a very difficult examination, and of course, these kids were amazed at the fact Jaime Escalante had nurtured them for a couple of years and took them through basic fundamental math into advanced, into geometry, trigonometry, algebra, and then, well, it was algebra, geometry, algebra 2, and then trigonometry, and then into calculus. And but he did that in a 2-year period. But we found all this out through the newspapers. When they passed the examination, the world gave them the biggest thank you, and gave him the biggest thank you, and gave the students a resounding cheer of incredible commitment. Because they were from East Los Angeles College, East Los Angeles High School, Garfield, and the Bulldogs. And they were, it was just an amazing feat that they had done. They'd never been done by students from that area of the United States. And in that amount, there was 18 of them. And basically, when that came out, it was a huge, huge thing in the newspapers across the country and around the world. It was shot heard around the world. And it was beautiful. And at that time, that happened in about May, I think. The release of all of that came out, I think, in sometime in June is when it really was taken up. I was given the opportunity to receive a thank you from the NAACP honorary. They gave me a community award. At this award was the chief of the Cherokee Nation. There was couple other people, and there was Jaime Escalante, and he got the Teacher of the Year award from the NAACP. And so I was standing there, and we were talking, and I knew about the story, and I was so proud of him. I was so proud to be with him. We laughed. And he was such a wonderful jokester, beautiful man. I mean, truly a beautiful man. So I left, we left, and then about a month later, a month and a half later in August around, it was a huge, expose of everybody saying that the kids cheated because the Princeton testing service ETS came to study the results, because they couldn't believe that all these kids passed in this one class, in this one group from one school, and they wanted to see what was going on. So they saw that they all missed less than the average amount of multiple choice questions, and they all answered one question the same. And so that proved to them that there was something wrong, and that as far as they were concerned, they had to the scores were not going to hold up, and that they would, if they wanted to do this, as the story says, if you watch the movie, if you want the score to go forward, you have to retake the exam. And it was crazy. But anyway, that story came out in the newspaper, and all of a sudden, about I'd say about a few weeks later, of course, the kids took the exam the day after they were challenged. They had to take the exam again, and they only had one day to prepare. And so they went in and they took it again, and of course, they all passed, and some with better scores than the first time.
Yeah.
And Jaime was very proud. And Tom Muska, these filmmakers, Tom Muska and Ramon Menendez, were at AFI, American Film Institute. They were students there. Wow. One was a producer, writer, and the other one was a director in the director's program. And they got together. They went out and purchased the rights to the story for $1.
While they were students?
Yes. Wow. And so they came to me. They wrote a script, and they came to me, and they asked if I would help them. And under my contract with Miami Vice, when I started with them at the very beginning, I wouldn't sign their contract. And I said, I can't really sign your contract because I'm working on the Ballad of Gregorio Cortez. I'm working on independent films. I really don't have the time to commit like this. What I told Botchko too. He wanted me on Hill Street, and he also wanted me in NYPD Blue. And I said, I can't really sign a 5-year contract exclusively with NBC or ABC or anybody. I just can't do that. I mean, but you can use me as a reoccurring role, and just don't make me sign an indefinite contract. And so I hung up the phone. Michael Mann called me, and he was the guy who called me originally. And after 5 phone calls, they finally gave me what I wanted, which was a non-exclusive contract, which is unheard of, and to this day it's still unheard of. And I had artistic control of my character.
Wow.
That is really, really, really something you don't get very often. And I had gotten, since I did Zoot Suit, from 78 forward, I always had artistic control, or else like in Wolfen or in Blade Runner or any of the films that I'd done after Zoot Suit, they would not have turned out the way that they turned out, because the directors that I was working with had to be secure enough to take on my suggestions of what I felt the character was like. And they usually do, but the final decision is usually left up to the director. In the case where I said, look, please, let me have my artistic control of my character, and I'll be more than happy to work with you. And so it went on like that. So by the time I hit in 87, 88, we were there at that level. So I told, with Miami Vice, I was there in 84. I told Michael Mann that, and he gave it to me. And
well, I have to say, there's a great interview with you online. I think it was for the American TV Masters. And you tell the story about the first day that you filmed as Castillo and having Don Johnson come through a door. And I have to say to everybody, if you're a fan of Mr. Edward James Olmos, you owe it to yourself to watch this interview with him, because he's very candid and he tells an incredible story that for Hollywood, to have this kind of creative control over a character is very unique. And by the way, sir, kudos to you, because by sticking to your guns, you created one of the most indelible characters in television history. So it just goes to show what you can do when you wield that power.
So, well, Robert, when Tom and Ramon came to me and they said, we have to let's do this. And I said, well, great. And I could say yes. I was in the middle of the series. I mean, that was at 87 is when we started filming it. And the show went on to 89. So from 84 through 89, I did Mama Lucia, which was named Fortunate Pilgrim, with Sophia Loren. I did, of course, with Lou, I did the Stand and Deliver. And I did about 3 films during that period of time. While I was working on Miami Vice, I would go. All I needed to do was give them 60 days advance notice. I said, okay, that's great. That's 2 months. That's exactly what I need to prepare myself. So any movie that wants me, they can't have me for at least 2 months, and then we can go off and do it. And that's what happened. And so, yeah, I mean, I'm very grateful that I was able to achieve that privilege, because I like doing Miami Vice, but I could not have, man, if I had not done Stand and Deliver in my lifetime, I don't know. I got a feeling that I would have probably usurped my contract if I would have had one. That said I had to do that. It's a sue me, see it work. Because this story was so important. This story, I will say, the kids are going to come on right now, and they'll be talking about it. But what most people don't know, and even maybe some of our, this movie has been seen by more people in the United States of America than Jaws or E.T. or Raiders or any film that's been made, even more than Gone with the Wind. And the reason is because school teachers use it every year.
Yeah.
I just got right now, my granddaughter texted me before this even started, says, oh, we're watching Selena right now. And that's how teachers do it. They use film. But this film is used by every major teacher of advanced mathematics in this country from junior high and high school level. And so it's become a monumental piece of work that after almost 35 years has been seen an awful lot.
And that's how
Mr.
I became...
Olmos, let me get in here. Another important reason why we're all together is we're raising money. I'm going to run through these as quickly as I can. We got a nice fresh batch of money that came in. D. Bud Martin $5 for a great cause and great people on the panel. Samurai Vader, $2. I got you $1 or $2. Robert, give me your hat. Darius Munchausen, $2. You can do it. Fill the hole. Sander Hammerslag for €5. Wonder what Almost thinks of Ed Cartmanez. Cartman with a South Park, right?
When South Park made fun of had fun
Yeah,
with
they
it.
made fun of me. It was great.
Oh, you enjoyed that?
it.
It was good.
Mr. Pants, $5. Kind of topic for Lou. Will Prodigal Son soon be a movie streaming or another network?
What do you think?
He just answered. His hands went up. We hope so. We hope so. What a great show. Glogo, Brandon, aka Infinite Wolf, $10. I watched this show for the first time a few days ago. Very inspirational. A film that is timeless in its story. My wish is that all can live their dream. Slade Wilson, $2. So say we all. Gossip Mime, $10. To Almost love your role in Galactica, sir. My mother's last and favorite TV series before she passed. Respectfully, your fan. Wow, you got fans all over the world, guys. Fake name, $5. I have to go soon, but I had to see some of this. Stand and Deliver has been one of my almost every public school student since it came out on VHS. Just what you were saying.
Yep.
Dash D's, $10. Good day, gentlemen. A pleasure to share your time. You both have played leaders in your career as well as community leaders. How do you become true leaders, inspire others to be?
Well, that's an interesting question. You want to answer it, Lou?
Certainly. Well,
let me just preface it this, Lou. No one has given more to the community than Lou Diamond Phillips, and I'm big time throughout. He's constantly been giving of himself, even before he was really known. But now it's like amazing. Go ahead, Lou. Give it to him.
Thank you, Eddie. And you were one of my mentors in this. And today more than ever. And it's interesting because we look at Stand and Deliver, and Stand and Deliver was one of the first times that this many Latino ethnic faces were on the screen. It was Academy Award nominated. Eddie should have won, but it was the beginning of a movement, and that movement is still happening today with representation and diversity. And the conversation is going on. And it's interesting because I was very, very fortunate in the beginning of my career to have people like Eddie Olmos, to have people like Luis Valdez and Danny Valdez and the United Farm Workers Union to be introduced and to march for and to fast for Cesar Chavez. And we used to call it a group of the usual suspects back in the late 80s, early 90s. The people that always showed up, Eddie Olmos, right there at the forefront. The people like, Ed Harris and Jackson Brown, and, any number of people that were always there for social causes, be it, Latino causes and El Rescate or Amnesty International or Oxfam, or homelessness and education. There were a number of us that always showed up, and we had that support system, like anybody in a good theater group that justifies you and validates you as an artist. We had a support group of people that validated us as activists. And I think in this day and age when we need it more than ever, we're seeing more people get involved. And there are OGs like me and Eddie still fighting the good fight,
Let's continue really quick. I got a few more. We got Brainy Washi. I know these names. I got a better name coming up. Brainy Washi, $19. Hail all, and hail to Olmos, my commander. Your role as Adama is by far one of the best in history. I keep watching BSG twice a year and always fall in love after I'm done. Best wishes. Krusty Moko for $5. That's it. Krusty Moko. Gotta love Krusty.
We're so happy to hear you laugh at that, Mr. Olmos.
Proto Man, $2. Everyone that went to public school saw this movie. Fatheaded Druid for $1.49 euros. Thank you, Fatheaded. Krusty Moko, $20. Nothing to say for once. Just enjoying the stream.
There you go.
Thank you, guys. I'm gonna pop on out. I'll see you guys in a few.
Yeah, and I'm gonna join.
Oh, I was just going to ask one question. I want to keep you guys here. I want to ask a question to Mr. Phillips. Mr. Phillips, you had gone from starring in La Bamba to playing a supporting role in this film, and really you became the iconic image on the one sheet, the key art for this movie. And I was curious, first of all, what is it like going from being a star in a starring role to a supporting role? And was that difficult to acclimate to? Because, you know, you once were like, and then also, did you meet the students? Were the roles of the students based on real people? And did you interact with any of them before you began shooting?
It's interesting because, I mean, I have a theater degree from the University of Texas at Arlington, and the story of my career is the story of my training. You know, you're part of an ensemble. Sometimes you're the lead, sometimes you're the supporting guy. Sometimes you're the hero, sometimes you're the bad guy. You know, Shakespeare or Moliere or Mamet. You know, it's this whole range of being an actor. So for me, there was no question. And it's interesting because when I started my film career, I thought of myself as a character actor as opposed to a leading man. And you know, the fact that I got to do leading roles and have been doing leading roles throughout my career, I've been very, very fortunate. Yes, we got to meet a number of the students, but characters, especially like Angel, is an amalgam of a lot of different students. He was representative of all the gang affiliated students that Jaime had. I think the most illuminative, you know, experience was going into his classroom, watching him teach his present day students, and then, to be quite honest, be on set and watch Eddie follow him around like Tweedledum and Tweedledee. And Eddie, you know, like repeating everything he did. I mean, Eddie had him down, you know, to a T, and that I think, you know, gave us the real touchstone for the fact that we were doing something that was very, very important and represented real people.
Well, it was interesting to see you really brought a quiet dignity to that role. And I really, again, watching the film yesterday, I really loved your performance in it. And I love at the end when you score a 5. Just your character gets a 5, which I thought was amazing. Now, listen, I'm going to bring on Brandon from the Daily.
I'm actually going to check out. So
from the Daily Chela. Yeah, sorry, Tom.
No, I was going to say that was most of my question. So I'm gonna leave, but I want to thank you for being here, Mr. Phillips and Mr. Olmos. It's been an honor to get to talk to you, and I'm gonna scoot it out so we can get some more people in here and actually make this a reunion. So thank you so much.
So Brandon from the Daily Chela is here, and Brandon, I know you're gonna ask some questions in Español. Hablo muy poco.
No, that is. Those are the other fellas. Brandon's with the day. Yeah, but it's all good. Está bien.
That's good. Then I can understand the questions.
Yes, you will.
So we all know it's an amazing story. We love the story, but a great story doesn't always make a great movie. And what I'm curious about is, you know, what, I guess, qualities did this film have that not only made it a great movie, that helped it withstand the test of time, but what qualities can future directors and studios take away from it when they make movies?
You want to try that one, Lou?
Yeah, you know, it's interesting. It's an American story. It's I think we're seeing it more and more, you know, these days with movies like, you know, Minari, which I think, you know, is beautifully representative of an American experience, you know, for Koreans in this country. But what Stand and Deliver did, and I think set the template for films that followed it. I think it set the template for a lot of independent films, to be quite honest. Is it had a specific voice. It was true to its heart and to its roots. I think that the heirs to that are, like I said, Minari or Moonlight, you know, that you would think, oh, this is a niche movie. No, it's not a niche movie. It has universality. No matter what community you're from, you can relate to it. You know, and whether these were Haitian students or Norwegian students that had come to this country and were first generation Americans, it told a story of the American dream and of taking your place at the table, quite honestly. And that's what we're still doing today is people finding their voice to take their place at the table, to get what they deserve from the American dream. And I think, like I said, I mean, we didn't know it at the time, and it's taken 30-something years for us to to realize the long-term effect of a movie like Stand and Deliver that holds up to this day. That's where we're at, and there are more communities embracing, their ownership of this.
Gentlemen, I'm going to interrupt. All apologies, but we just got a big donation. Eric O'Sullivan for $100. Orale! What do you wear? Galactica Actual? Gratitude. Eric O'Sullivan, you are awesome. He is our brother from Boston, a great supporter of the channels. $100 for the Latino Theater Company. Thanks, guys.
Yeah, I mean, really, it gets down to the nitty gritty. What Lou was just saying is so right on. It's an American story, and we're seeing it through the eyes of just one of the many different cultures that there are in this country, and the fact that it was able to push through and become now an American story, and it's done by the Latino culture, and and it's normal, and people love it, and black, white, brown, and red kids see it all over this country every year, and but I got to tell you, and I want to be very direct with you. The Latino Theater Company is the reason why we have the depth of actors in our community. It's one of the premier Latino theater companies in the country, if not in the world. And I must tell you that they have really suffered. Everybody suffered. I just finished going to SB. I forgot this 308. I think it is. It's the number. They're trying to push a law through to give the nonprofit theaters, equity waiver theaters, some funding. And of course, they are equity. The Latino Theater Company is equity, but they're suffering just as much as everyone. So I'd say to everybody, just understand one thing: what you're doing today and what we're doing, all of us here today, is really, really beneficial for the future of artistry, cultural artistry, to develop and have a place to grow. If it wasn't for theater, I wouldn't be here. Lude, same thing. We did all of our work in a brick and stick theater. The brick was for the rats and the stick was for the brick was for the cockroaches, the stick was for the rats. And go around hitting the animals that would come and visit you as you're doing your performance. But basically, I thank all of you for doing this, especially just recently that donation of $100. And I'll tell you what I hear. I hear the sound of love and friendship giving itself to the Latino Theater Company, and I thank you for that.
I have another question for you, Mr. Olmos. Playing, you did, as Mr. Phillips said, you were like peas in a pod with Mr. Escalante. What's it like to actually play a real person that you're actually interacting with? You know him, you become friends with him, you were friends with him all the way through the rest of his life. He became very important to you, and yet you're bringing somebody to life that's real. You're not recreating a historical figure. How did that relationship between the two of you develop? And what were some of the things that you did to find out? Did you have long conversations about his inner life and what he was thinking, his hopes and fears? And what was it like having him respond to your performance of him? That had to be an interesting experience.
Yeah, he was there the full performance. Every moment of the performance, he was on the set. He would be watching me do every performance and everything. And he'd sit there. He had a hat similar to what it was a fedora, the one he wore. You see it in the movie. I wear it, and he'd stand there like this, and he'd be watching me. And after I get done with the performance, he'd go. that was it. I did so much work with him, though. You got to remember, if imitating is the highest form of flattery, then I flattered the hell out of him, because I imitated him to a T. I mean, there was nothing that I did was not him. I didn't do a movement that wasn't him. The way he would walk, the way he would touch, the way he would move, how he had his hands in he was a dynamic character, a beautiful, beautiful man. I mean, this guy was so sensitive, it was ridiculous. He could convince people almost anybody, because he taught adults at the same time he was teaching children. But he convinced the children to have the security in him and the trust in him that he would get them through it. That's all that math is. Math is like, like I hope Gote is on the line with us today and let him explain. But because basically his character was the epitome of it. He personified the epitome of what these kids would say. I can't do this. You are all real smart. You guys are the best, but I can't do this. I've never been able to do. And he's crying. He's so angry. And oh poor. And he'd level into him, and he said, "Come on." And Jaime was really like that. I spent a year watching him, and I would go to his classroom and sit in the back, and I went to his house, and the only thing I didn't do was jump into the same bed with him when they went to sleep, him and his wife. That's the only thing I didn't do. Other than that, I did everything else. And boy, there's some moments that were just remarkable. The man was a genius. He was truly a genius, and he didn't make anybody else feel less than him. He always brought you up. But man, he knew his math. He really knew his calculus, and he really knew how to teach it. And they trust. My kids. I sent my kids there. both of them went into his classroom, and it was unfair not to have that teacher as a teacher. It was unfair to all the teachers all the students that never got to be that. And I love the teachers that use the film. Do you know how much courage it takes to use that film in your classroom? And then once the film is over, you got to stand up there and teach the kids. After the kids get to see that, they go, "Oh my God, that's courage, man!" At the highest level, I got to give it to all the teachers that use that film.
Gentlemen, I have to move on. I'm going to say goodbye to Brandon. Sorry, sir, but thank you and the Daily Chela for sponsoring this awesome event. You take care, Brandon.
All right.
Órale. And now ya estamos directamente de Sudamérica, de Perú y también Ecuador. Mis compadres, mis hermanos, Pablito, Geek Tropology, and Diego from Midnight's Edge Español. Take it away.
Mr. Olmos, Mr. Phillips, first of all, I want to say it's a great honor to be here to actually be able to talk to you. And Mr. Olmos, you were Adama, you were the chief on the road to El Dorado. I love those movies. Mr. Phillips, you were on Stargate. It's awesome being here. I'm geeking out.
Yeah, me and Eddie, brown guys in space.
Yeah.
Ask a question, Pablo.
Ok.
Rápidamente.
Sí, señor Olmos, solamente para hacer esto rápido. En su actuación de Stand and Deliver, es increíble su lenguaje corporal, la manera en la que usted habla. Cuando uno ve al profesor Escalante en la vida real, era perfecta su actuación. ¿Cuál fue su preparación y cómo logró llevar al personaje de una manera tan increíble?
Mira, la cosa que estaba yo diciendo unos momentos antes es que tuve la oportunidad de estudiarlo, tuve la oportunidad de ser su amigo, tuve la oportunidad de comer con él, desayunar, lonchar, cenar con él, ir a diferentes lugares y íbamos a ver cosas y estábamos juntos. Yo lo veía mucho como era de realidad cuando estaba con su esposa, con sus hijos, cómo trataba a sus hijos, tuve la oportunidad de estudiarlo y luego él, cuando estábamos juntos, comenzamos a entender la historia y pasamos mucho tiempo descubriendo el guión. Fue una cosa muy, muy interesante para todos, pero lo hice tuve la oportunidad de tener tiempo. Es la cosa más importante. I had time to do the research with him. That's why the character came out the way it did. Y para mí es una cosa muy importante entender. Por esa razón salió como salió.
Increíble, muchísimas gracias.
Bueno, señor Olmos, en el 2011 la película fue reconocida por Library of Congress and the National Film Registry, al punto de ser importante culturalmente y también preservada. Y quería saber cómo se sintió para usted de que participó en una película que recibió esa distinción de ser reconocida para preservar para la posteridad, para futuras generaciones.
Es un privilegio la vida que he vivido adentro de este arte. It's a privilege of what I've been able to live with inside of this art form. Pero ser una película como Stand and Deliver casi nunca viene. Nomás he hecho una. Es una cosa que gente no entiende, las oportunidades. Esto fue la cosa más importante que he hecho con el arte, porque tocó tantas personas en la vida y va a seguir en 100 años, lo van a estar usando. This is something that will be used in 100 years. It'll go on to become what it's going to be. And so, to me, ser parte de una película que ha recibido tanto apoyo, tanto orgullo, es una cosa maravillosa. Y totalmente que sea algo que trae la cultura latina para este país es muy importante. Los prejuicios de discriminación en este país son increíbles. Pega muy fuerte. Ya lo hemos visto, los últimos 4 años ha sido un desastre y contra el latino. Y latinos son blancos, son negros, son asiáticos, son africanos, son de todos diferentes, indígenas, son de todas diferentes culturas que son latinos. Pero este país es muy difícil en los prejuicios que tienen, porque como somos muchos y vamos a ser muchos más, nos tienen miedo. Esa es la cosa más interesante de lo que está pasando hoy en día.
Muchas gracias, señor Olmos. Así para decir nomás, es un privilegio haber estado acá con usted y escucharlo comentar especialmente lo que piensa con respecto a la película.
Gracias.
Thank you, gentlemen. Check them out. Midnight's Edge Español. We'll see you guys soon. We're gonna head on back to some English. We'd love to do it more in Spanish, but
I love that. That was terrific.
These guys are great. Love you guys. We'll see you soon.
Yep. Bye.
I just had one other question I wanted to ask the two of you before we bring on some of the rest of the cast, which is one of the things about the film that I love is the relationship between your two characters, between Angel and Mr. Escalante. And it's kind of this running through line, sort of a subplot in the movie. Is Angel going to step up? And of course, that scene about fill the hole. What is -1 plus positive, or -2 plus positive? I love that. And I wondered, was that something that was part of the script, or did that develop as the movie was being made? And how did you two work on that relationship? Because I really do think it's one of the more enjoyable aspects of the movie that you don't expect, because it could have been cliche, but it's really not. I mean, one of the things I love about the film is it almost feels like you're watching a documentary. It doesn't rely on pop music in the score. It doesn't rely on a lot of Hollywood tropes. It really feels so authentic, which is something that struck me now watching it with years of watching films under my belt. That was one of the things I really enjoyed about it, how down to earth and realistic it felt. So what was that relationship like for the two of you on set, developing it?
Go ahead, Luke.
Eddie, in a word, Eddie. Seriously, he shepherded this project from the beginning. As he said, he was the well from which we all drew water. Eddie insisted on a week of rehearsal. We had a number of cast members. This was their first film, and in some respects, first time acting. So he integrated the different levels of ability, and not talent, but experience, by making everyone comfortable. Especially for he and I, there was a good deal of improv in the rehearsal, space. And that affected the script. Now, this is not to take anything away from the script by Tom Muska and Ramon Menendez. They gave us a beautiful blueprint. Eddie brought the color to it. And, I think a lot of that chemistry that you see, a lot of the banter, is the result of a very, I think, fundamental approach that Eddie took to the work. And I think you see that reflected not only in the chemistry between he and I, but in the chemistry between the rest of the cast members, with the ensemble, with myself and the other students, with him and the other students, because he was able to feed those relationships, you know. And by the way, Danny Villarreal, and I think I remember the day. We couldn't find Chuco. We couldn't find the character, you know. And Danny was a PA who was taking me around to all the gang spots that he used to go hang out in as a gang member. And so this was part of my research. And so that bond that Danny and I have was very organic as well, because we were spending that amount of time together. And it was Eddie who finally said, he turned to Ramon, he goes, let Danny read this during rehearsal one day.
Wow.
And Danny read the role, and that was it, you know?
Well, for those people who are watching that might not understand, on a lower budget film like this, to have a week of rehearsal for actors is something that is a luxury you don't always get. Mr. Olmos, was that something that you insisted on? Was this rehearsal period because you knew how it would benefit the film? And was that something that was easy to do, or was there any pushback?
There was no pushback. Everybody understood the responsibility. By the time people joined us, they understood the responsibility of what we were doing, or else they wouldn't be around us, because basically we knew from the get-go that this story was needed, incredibly difficult to do, but needed, and really could become something that could be used like they're using it today.
Did everybody?
Lightning in a bottle.
I think he froze.
We had a freeze.
That's what happens when you're that cool.
Well, maybe he'll reconnect, Mr.
Well, we can still kind of hear him. He's coming in and out.
He's trying. Never going to be able to say before we go.
Oh, now you're back.
Now we're back. Okay. Was it me who jumped off, or was it the system?
I think it was the system.
Oh, okay, great.
It couldn't deal with your coolness, like Mr. Phillips was saying. It couldn't handle it.
But go ahead, Robert.
Oh no, well, I was just going to say that having an actor such as yourself sort of lead this kind of an ensemble. I mean, as the character you were playing, I was wondering, it all sort of fed into what you were able to come up with. I mean, you were taking on the character of a mentor, and in real life you sort of did the same kind of thing, which obviously I think was great for the project as a whole. And did you feel sort of teacherly toward these actors and people? Did you feel that?
I felt the character, and I think that they felt their characters. When we were in that room, we became who we were, and it was beautiful to watch. I mean, beautiful. You have to realize when you see these performances, you start to say, wow, this person's really in it, inside of it. There was one false note in the entire film, and it was brilliantly done, and Nancy Richardson edited it like masterfully, and she was incredible. And so I would say that, yeah, I felt like a teacher, of course, and I felt like Jaime, of course, and Jaime and I would walk around together, and I looked like him, and the hair used to take me 4.5 hours to put on, and people thought I was bald, after the performance was over. And I went on some talk shows and late night shows and stuff, and they would say, well, how did you do that with your hair? I go, oh, I'm wearing a wig right now. That's how I really am. And they would believe me. They would believe me. And the word got out, that, geez, guy's really bald. And that's really cool, And but basically, yeah, I mean, I felt like a teacher. Of course I did, Robert.
Gentlemen, before we bring in the cast, Robert,
and when he died, I felt really, really sad. Oh, there we go again, Bobby.
Oh no, you're back.
So before we bring in the cast, we have one huge super chat that I'd love to bring in. bring on Mexican Iron Man for $200.
Yeah.
Thank you both,
All right.
Mr. Olmos and Mr. Phillips. Your movie got this East San Jose Chicano kid to strive to a 4-year college and take more math. Then he goes on to say, eventually, I graduated from Stanford and studied economics at Oxford. I am now own my own accounting and tax firm. Thank you for giving my life purpose. I'm getting a little emotional. Mike is a great. That was great. I'll be right back.
Yeah, it's a really emotional feeling, man. I'm crying right now that he did that and he said that, because that's what it was all about. That's why we do this kind of work, you know, and it works. I mean, the Mexican Iron Man has become my idol now. I mean, he went all the way. You know, he graduated from Stanford and studied economics at Oxford. Are you kidding me? And then went on to, you know, give his life purpose because he saw our performance and he took the story, because it was a story that inspired him. Our performances gave him the right to feel it and understand it and watch it, but it was the story that motivated him to become what he is today. And that's why it's so important that we get diverse stories being told on this art form, which is the strongest art form the world has ever created. Ever.
Absolutely.
It's the strongest.
Well, I would ask you both. I'm always curious, you know, as actors, when you're in things that sort of transcend time. I think Mr. Phillips being in La Bamba, things like Young Guns, I'm a big First Power fan, and things that have a fan base that endure, not just through years, but through decades. And Mr. Olmos, you've been in so many things that, I mean, all the way, even now up through Mayans, these are things that people are going to be watching. What's it like to have made something and then years and years later, people are still coming up to you as if it was made yesterday? You know, you've made things that have become the foundational memories of people's lives. Is that odd, or is it something that's welcome? Or do you ever get tired of, yes, I gaff, people love Blade Runner. I understand. Adama is one of the greatest characters that's ever been on television. I understand. Thank you very much. Does it ever get to the point where you're like, well, what about the Milagro Beanfield War? What about, you know, whatever? When people have these things, is that always welcome when people come up to you or stop you on the street or at dinner or something and wax rhapsodic about work you've done years before?
What do you think, Lou? Answer it.
That's why we're still here. You know, that's why we're still working, man. Yeah, you can't really resent that. You know, I mean, if you made a bunch of duds and you stunk, you know, way back when, we wouldn't be here anymore, man. We'd be pumping gas. You know, well, no, that job doesn't even exist. You know, so just grateful and humbling, to be honest. You know, it's interesting. I think again, it's advice for, you know, modern day filmmakers and actors. It's like, don't do something for the moment. Do something for the ages. Do something that has universal truth. You know, don't just get caught up in trends. I mean, we see it so much now. People have Insta fame with, you know, Instagram and YouTube and all this other stuff, and so they want this immediate gratification, but the work itself doesn't you know, stand up to scrutiny over time, and you know, you have to take the big picture approach.
I agree with that. Is that true for you too, Mr. Olmos?
Of course, yeah, of course. I mean, it's humbling to this day. You know, anyone that comes up to say thank you to me, I pour myself into them. I take time to say thank you back more than they said to me, because basically they're the ones who are supporting my understanding of my craft, and they gave me the opportunity to develop and be who I am today. And so, no, the viewer, the people who come up to say thank you to you are saying thank you to you because you've given them something, and I have to say thank you to them. That's why I started going to conventions. I found it really, really important to go to a convention. People say, "You're going to go to this convention? Which one?" It's, you know, for has-beens or whatever. I said, "No, man, you don't understand what is going on there. You have no idea what you're talking about." Yeah, you get a lot of people who are fanatical about their love for the things that they really love, and they're not afraid to show it. They come dressed as characters and everything. But you got to stop, man. These are the people who really have made it possible for these stories and these shows and these things to continue. And so I go there and I spend more time talking to them than I do signing anything. I end up, most of the time they're not buying anything. They're just coming to meet me. And that's perfect. And I said, well, the long line, and I said, they're talking, people wait. They'll wait for hours in the line while I talk to each one of them. And I don't cut anybody short. And, because they've been waiting for an hour or 2 hours in the line. So they get to me, and if I say, oh, hey, Dan, thank you very much. Yeah, thanks. Thanks. Next, you do that kind of shit. I've seen it done by some actors. Some people have done that. Personalities have done that. They usher them through. They don't even look at them. And I say to myself, I don't understand that. You got to stop for a second. Stop and think about what you're doing. So, yeah, Lou is right on. He's right on.
Paul, I'm sorry, what are you going to say?
Gentlemen, we have the cast. We have to reunite these people. We have to do it, and it has to happen now. Let us bring on Will Gauthier.
Hey, Willie!
Let us bring on Lydia Nicole.
I love Lydia.
Hello.
Let us bring on Ingrid. Let us bring on Patrick Baca.
Yay!
Have fun, R&B.
Well, welcome to all of you, and I guess my first when we did this for Blood In Blood Out, I wanted to ask all of the actors. They all had very interesting stories about how they first got involved in this project. I was surprised at how interesting the stories were. So I guess let me start with you, Patrick. How did you get involved with this? When was the first time you heard about? Oh, well,
where'd you go, Pat?
Well, Patrick, maybe we'll go to Will then. I'll bring in Patrick. Will, the same question would be, although I think your microphone's. Oh no, Patrick's coming back. Is he coming back?
Good. Unmute your mic.
Will, yes, unmute.
There you go. Sorry about that.
Yeah.
Okay, wait. I'm gonna bring. Let me bring Patrick back since I got him in the mindset. So, Patrick, how did you get involved with Stand and Deliver? Take us back. Set the stage.
I had moved to Los Angeles when I was 18 to go to college and to pursue my acting career. And I started doing television commercials and just did sort of a lot of, commercials for Coca-Cola, Jack in the Box, fast food, and started my studies. And by the time Stand and Deliver came around, it was an audition.
Oh
man,
that was it. He didn't get the call back.
You didn't know that Patrick is also the Invisible Man. He's going up for that role next.
Oh wait, he's coming back. He's back. Let's see if we can.
In their show.
Okay, Patrick.
Yes.
So you're doing auditions. Please
song.
continue. Please continue.
So for me, it was being the right place at the right time. When the movie began casting, I was, I looked young. I was young, and I had an agent, so I got to get in, and it was just perfect timing. The script, the character was really a good match. It wasn't that far, of a stretch from me. So, the fun part was once you got in and you did your audition, and then we started the process of being called back. We started to mix and match with the other actors and the other characters, and it's puzzle making. It's putting together pieces of a puzzle. And when you understand your piece,
well, I was. Let me ask then, Lupe. Let me ask, Ingrid. Let me ask you. Is playing Lupe is really, I think, one of the heart and souls of the film, along with Mr. Phillips's character. You brought in. We see a lot more of you, the home life that you had, the domestic life that you had as a character. Sorry, Patrick. I'll come back to you. I just wanted to move on to Ingrid for a second. What was that like? And maybe if the two of you, Patrick, could speak. Were you involved in the rehearsal process, and how much of your characters came out of that rehearsal process?
Patrick, do you want
to? We did. We did get to, like Eddie had mentioned earlier. We we got to observe Jaime, in his natural habitat, which was, his.
And we bonded through that experience. We became a family, and
A real one. Yes.
Eddie's always been our patriarch. So you can call him teacher, professor, but he's our patriarch. But Lupe, that was such a beautiful role. My uncle ended up playing my father in that one quick scene when he says bye. But this became a labor of love. We worked, and when we were being paid, we were working long hours just because it was such a beautiful project. But I want you to know that I had worked with Ramon Menendez and Tom Musca when they were students at AFI.
Wow, okay.
So when I found out that they were doing this, I called one of the producers and I said, "Oh my God, I want to read for the role of Lupe." She says, "Well, let me call Ramon." She called me back. He says that if you look 18, yes, but if not, no, because he worked with you when you were 18. So you need to convince them that you can play 18. I said, okay, I can do that. So I wore a wig to a long wig, and it was just an incredible. It's a beautiful dream. I can't tell you what this film. I have met people that when they know I was in the film, I had an RN at a hospital. He looked at me and he was like, "Really?" Because I never believed that it's really you. And then when you say, "Yes, it's me," he says, "I want you to know that this movie changed my life. I was a gangbanger. And after I saw that film, I went to college and I am an RN." And we have witnessed these testimonials.
Yes, the impact.
For 30 years. I can't tell you how many times, and it's just awesome.
And Will, that's the same for you. And again, why don't if you could?
No, I didn't wear the wig, bro. She wore the wig. I didn't have the red hair,
but they still recognize him.
Yeah. I get recognized.
They still recognize him.
I think I'm not sure, but I think I was one of the only ones that hadn't done anything before. I don't know. It was my first film, and I auditioned for it. I remember one of the funny things is, or I guess where life imitates art, was that I had applied to I'm a chef, and I had applied to the Culinary Institute of America back in early 70s. Early 80s when I graduated high school, and I was accused of cheating on the entrance test because I scored high, and I had to take the test again. And my teacher took me to the school. I mean, and it was the strangest thing, which is why, like, when I read for the part, I read once. And I'm sure Eddie remembers this, I would imagine. I read once, and then Ramon and Tom would have me come into the room, and I'm like, I'm like Johnny Actor. I'm like, I've got the script, and I'm looking to act, and he just had me sit in a chair, and Ramon, because everybody knows this about Ramon. Ramon is pretty rough. Like he'll take shit, but he'll give it,
yeah.
And so I would show up with the casting director Jackie and Tony, and I was sitting there, and I would go, I'm ready. He'd go, "Just shut up, just sit there, be quiet. Do me a favor, be quiet. Don't say nothing." And then he would say, "Okay, thank you," and then I would leave. And after several times of that happening, the last time that I auditioned, that I showed up for the audition, Ramon and I actually got into an argument. I'm Puerto Rican, he's Cuban. It was gonna happen, and the thing was, and I think this was the selling point, and I don't know who knows about this, but like I was told by Tony that they since I hadn't had any experience prior, that they just weren't sure if I could, pull the part, pull it together, And my last words to Ramon when we got into this argument at the audition was, I told him, "If you fucking cast anybody else in this, you're never gonna fucking sleep. You're never gonna sleep. Because you're gonna wonder. And that was it. And then I got the call the next day. So it was interesting, and we became. I heard you talk. I was signed on before, and the impact of the film. Not only did it, obviously bring me into the realm of acting and this madness that we all love so much, but watching Eddie do the work and watching Lou do the work was inspirational to me. I think most of them knew this because they had to have seen it. I knew nothing. I didn't know how to remember lines. I didn't know what to do. So my script was tagged onto people. I put my dialogue on people, and as they walked by, I read the lines. Like, you know, and Ramon only caught on to that at the last day, which was great. Because Tom Richmond told him, he's been doing that all along. Didn't you see that? And he goes, you're reading the line from the floor? You can see that far? I mean, you know, because you did what you did. But
right.
We definitely became family. We all kept in touch. And right now, you know, like I told you, I'm a chef. And right now I'm doing some writing. So, you know, I got a couple of short plays that are being produced by Stella Adler.
Wow.
So, yeah. So it's cool. I'm excited about that. And one's going to be in Australia.
Well, Lydia,
if I could say something really quick,
oh,
Mr.
sure, go ahead,
Mr. Gauthier, and to the rest of the cast. Thank you guys again for being here with Mr. Olmos and Lou Diamond Phillips. We have a big donation. Melvin Belliard, $100. This movie was the first movie I remember watching as a kid, where Latinos were more than just a stereotypical gangster, and being floored by all the performances. Thank you all.
Yeah.
Thank you, Melvin.
And I just want to share that.
I'm so sorry. I got to jump.
Yes, sir.
Commitments.
Before you go, I just want to pay you some tribute. I want everybody to know that Lou Diamond Phillips, when we did the movie, was the nicest person ever. And I have been working 7 years prior to Stand and Deliver.
Yeah.
And to this day, he is still the nicest person in show business.
Absolutely.
I just want to tell you that, Lou. I love you so much. God bless you.
And I know secrets because we shared a room.
Exactly.
Mr. Phillips, thank you so much for being here. We very much appreciate your time.
I love you.
And,
good seeing you, buddy. The reason that we're all still here and still using our voices and fighting the good fight. I love you all. I love you all.
Take care.
Thanks for being here.
Stay safe, man.
Well, Lydia, you're not going to get off that easy.
Well, my story is a little different than everybody because I have been working as an actor for 7 years. I had done a two-parter of The Jeffersons where I was a thug and I stabbed George, and it was a whole big to-do. It was like one of the first dramatic Jeffersons that they had done towards the end of their run. And so I had worked a lot, but I was so excited when I got the audition for Stand and Deliver because we as Latinos did not have this kind of project, you know, and if we did get a project, it might be once a year if we were lucky, and if you were one of the few that got cast in it. So when I got to read the script, I was floored. This was the best script I had ever read up until that point. The best. I mean, it was so full of characters and hearts, and it just had everything. It had drama. And so I actually had to do 6 callbacks.
Wow.
My problem was that I could do 3 of the characters really well. So they didn't know where to put me. So then I got bumped out of the Anna character because Vanessa came in. But it was a little difficult because none of the characters were like me. And so I ended up playing Rafaela, which was the illegal alien in the...
I'm sorry, Lydia, for interrupting. I love all you guys, but whoever is typing, we can hear the typing, and just hit the mute while you're typing and not talking. Love and appreciate you all for being here. Thanks.
I can't type. I used to think.
I think it's just crackling. I'm not sure what that might be.
Somebody's making popcorn. Stop it.
So I'm sorry, Lydia. So you got bumped around.
So I got bumped around, and then finally, my 6th callback, I was kind of done. I didn't go off on anybody, but I remember just saying, I'm not coming back. If you guys either use me or that's it, because this is too much. Yeah, I'm wasting too much gas. You guys should know what you want. And
My
so
last one-
I
my
was
last
so
audition, I
not
got
the
fired
character
from work.
that I ended up playing, because the character I played was so docile and so timid and quiet, and that was not me. So,
So now
but
you know what
it
she was
was.
cast as, the girl that stabbed Jefferson.
That's right. I was more of that girl. And so I would say that Stand and Deliver for me was probably a master class, because as Eddie had said, you know, we had the privilege, even though we didn't get paid for it, we had the privilege to rehearse for a really good period of time. And we had the privilege to sit in Jaime's class for several weeks.
Yeah.
So we got to see the real teacher. We got to be with Eddie. We got to form this bond. And for me, it was so important because it was a Latino project. Not only was it Latino, but it was an indie project. It was I can't tell you the bigness of it, that it was this little train that could, you know, it was not studio back. This was not Milagro Beanfield Wars. This was a little tiny film with no money, all heart, and that to this day, every time you see the film, you leave feeling victorious. Every time I see the film, I'm so inspired. I'm ready to go take a mountain. But it was because there was so much love put into this film, and because of the teacher. If I had had a teacher like Jaime Escalante, I probably would have been a genius. I wouldn't have been acting. I would have been doing math. But I never had the opportunity to have a Jaime Escalante. I went to public school. The teachers didn't care. They, you know, they weren't invested. And to sit in a classroom as an adult, because when I did this movie, I was 27 years old. Just saying. And so playing 18.
Rocksteady sends us $200 and says love to the cast and the theater. Rocksteady, thank you so very much. By the way, Daniel is in the stream.
Welcome, Daniel.
Daniel. And Jay Croc too sends in $99.99 for the Latino theater.
Penny, bro, what happened to the penny?
Daniel, welcome.
Thank you.
We've been asking everybody how they got involved. Oh,
He left.
He's gone. Well, Mr. Olmos, let me ask you.
Went to get his hairnet.
Oh, bring it back.
Okay. Where did I go? Where did I go?
Daniel, let me ask you. Everyone was telling us how they became involved with the project and what their stories were. Might you set the stage for us, take us back, and tell us?
Well, it was back in 1984. I met Ramon Menendez. He was assisting on a documentary for his professor over at UCLA, and this was '84. And for the next 2 years, we hung out, and he told me that him and Tom Muska were going to make a movie about Jaime Escalante, and I said, "Yeah, sure." So 2 years later, they came back with a script in 1986. And I read it, and I was blown away by it. And I said, you know, anything I can do for you guys, let me know. And you know, they used me and abused me. No, I'm just kidding. I grew up in East LA, so I had the background. You know, that was my story. Part of my story, like with all these other characters, composites of different people. My story was a little bit like Lou Diamond Phillips. Story, you know, I was raised by my grandma. I was in a gang. I was good in math, and then you know, I did well in school. So I got involved with the guys with Tom and Ramon, and eventually they gave me a job on the movie as a production assistant. And for a while, I was at Garfield filming Jaime Escalante for Mr. Eddie Olmos. So I was there for a week videotaping Jaime, and I mean, he was an incredible human being, a great performer. He was always on. He was always performing for the kids to keep their attention, and he was just a great man. And so we got the tapes over to Eddie, and then Eddie did his magic. Eddie came in. He already had the hairpiece and everything, and he was Jaime. So I ended up working on the movie, and eventually got a part in it, thanks to Mr. Olmos and to Will Gauthier. Will helped me out with my audition.
Well,
he came up with the 1s and the 2s and the 3s. that was his.
I love that.
Yeah.
Well, Mr. Olmos, I'm curious. During this, I keep going back to this rehearsal process only because, you know, to have this happen is such a great thing. Did you, as you were working with these actors, were you seeing actors? Did you have input into moving actors around into different parts to play to their strengths? Did you have that kind of relationship with the producer and the director where you could make those kinds of things or make suggestions or things like that?
Yeah, I mean, basically, the three of us produced the movie, and it was
Yeah.
myself and Tom Muska, and so we would, you know, talk, and everybody was very open. Everybody was very amenable to understanding what was going on, and I was very grateful that, first of all, that Danny was around when we were having trouble, and I think Lou was talking about it. We were having trouble casting the part that Danny was playing. He ended up playing, and he was working that day. We were rehearsing, and it wasn't working. And I kept on telling him, this doesn't work. This is not working, man. And I felt bad for the actor, the kid that was playing it. He ended up playing my son, my oldest son, Fernando, and he ended up playing that role. But when he was playing this other role, he wasn't real. It wasn't happening. It wasn't organic. And I kept on telling I said, this is not working, man. And he didn't know what to do, because basically we're rehearsing to do the movie.
Right.
And then I said, I called for Danny. I said, Danny, come here. And I think he was sweeping.
He was sweeping.
He was
sweeping.
sweeping.
I remember that. I remember that.
He was sweeping.
Because,
And
yeah.
he's like, what? I go, come here for a second. Come here for a second. And okay. And he slowly walks over, and he puts the broom down. He walks over, and I said, read these lines. And then he just started to read the lines, and bingo, that was it. He never left after that. You know, it was an amazing, and I used him for my next movie too, on American Me. He went straight in. He stayed with me, and he's a brilliant realist. I mean, the guy is a truth teller. He gets on screen, and he only knows how to tell the truth. And that's it. He's not acting. He's not pretending. He's not trying. He just said, what? He's doing he's right there. He'll nail you. And Emilio is that way also. And Mayans, she's so powerful. It's ridiculous. And but Danny Villarreal became the find of the movie, because he came out of, literally, we were the last minute before we started filming. And we found him, and Will was real happy. Everybody was real happy. Once that happened, I think everybody went click. Oh my God!
Yeah, I took that. I got the script, the sides, and I grabbed Danny, and we went into the alley. and I kept telling Danny, every time you read a line, just think, I'm gonna kill you. Just put that in the back of your head. And it was great, and he was great in it. Absolutely, you can't even picture anybody else doing it. So
no.
Well, all this work, Mr. Olmos, you went on, and of course, as a director, you directed American Me. You directed episodes of Battlestar Galactica. Even I don't know if people remember that. You directed some great episodes of that show. But working as you did as a producer and as sort of the mentor of all these young actors, was this something that became later invaluable when you finally took the reins as a director as well?
Yeah, it was a process, and the process was long, and I'm very grateful that I was able to go through it. I mean, I started off as a rock and roll singer in 1960.
It's very good.
And then I went on to produce our songs. I ended up writing our songs. I ended up producing other people's songs and helping them in the studio as an engineer. And I learned all that. And so when I got into theater in 1964, and I went to East LA Community College, and I got into my first acting class in theater, that's when it started to evolve and come together. The kind of thought process, the critical thinking, and the creativity that I was using throughout from when I was 14 in rock and roll and moving right up through today was on time, and it was lucky, which was preparedness meets opportunity, and that's luck, and I had the luck because I had been prepared, and so slowly started to learn how to produce movies and plays, and learn how to. I started producing plays first, and then we started producing film, and then television, and then we ended up directing. My first directorial on film was American Me. The first directorial on television was Bushido and on Miami Vice. And so
I didn't realize you directed that episode, because man, do I love that episode.
Yeah, I directed it. I wrote it to help write it, but it was a major. I ended up doing, and I always told everybody. I told all these kids that we have to create our own work. We have to write our own stories. We have to produce it. We have to direct it. We have to write it. We have to. That's why the Latino Theater Company is so important, and why we're all here today to say thank you to them for the work that they've done over and over for so many of us. I mean, we had a house to work in. We've had a place to go and explore and understand our lives. As we weren't going to have, granted, I did the Mark Taper, but I haven't been back to the Mark Taper to perform in there, or they don't have any kind of workshops or anything for Latino plays, but they do at the theater.
Wow, love from Denmark.
Nicole, love from Denmark.
Yes.
Wow, 500. Jesus. Ulrich.
You guys have been doing a great job. Thank you.
Could I have that business info, please? 500.
Ulrich Kohl from
Robert,
you deserve to understand what you've given. You've given something to people that will cherish it and be able to use it in a way that we could never have done without your help. So, Ulrich, thank you.
And then we also got another.
Love you guys.
My friend Terje from Norway says, greetings from Norway. I'm going to be honest. I haven't seen the movie, but I'm psyched. I just bought it on iTunes.
Yeah.
In school, I had to argue with my teacher to get extra help with math, but I made it.
Yeah.
Yes.
I think Will's character personifies almost everybody's experience in math. Why don't you talk about Will?
Well, I had a very strange. I'm the youngest of 12, so I had a lot of brothers and sisters go through high school before I did, and they tainted the name. So by the time I got to those teachers, I swear, by the time I got to those teachers, they just read the last name, because the last name is very, it's not a standard name, Gote. And they would look and they would go, "Are you Sonny's little brother?" "Yeah." "You will not pass my class." I mean, I heard that many times. And I had a teacher, her name was Mrs. Campbell. I'm going to say, I don't know if she's anywhere around anyway, but she had a run-in with one of my older sisters, and it was algebra. And for the whole year, she made it almost impossible for me. When I took a test, she would watch me. If I looked to the left, she would just take the paper and rip it up. So when I went to the next grade, she passed me with a DU, which was like, disgusting and unsatisfying. When I got to the next class, there was a teacher named Mr. Pardine, and when he saw, and I was just ready. I was ready because I was the last one going through this high school. And the teacher said, "Gote," and I went, "Oh, fuck." And he goes, "Are you Sonny's younger brother?" And I said, "Yeah." He goes, "I loved him." And so that's it's amazing the difference, because I actually aced that class, throughout the year. Now, being the dumbest one in the movie, which by the way is not the truth.
Yeah.
The challenge was that the reality is that a lot of people, when you heard calculus, you kind of thought of it as calculus, because nobody, even understood what that meant, and you were intimidated by it. So it was very interesting to kind of be that character, especially after having been accused of, like I told you before, from the Culinary Institute. So it did bring up a lot of things that I thought a lot of people associate with, like Eddie said. I've had many people, as is I'm sure everybody else's experience, come up to me and say, wow, like you really helped me, you really, that film did so much for me, and this is what I'm doing now, yeah. And I want to add one thing. Eddie is not being honest, and by that is because he hasn't done a comedy. He's fucking funny. Eddie is funny. he has the twisted sense of don't let all the knee. He's really funny, and I wish he would do something that's funny, because the scene that he and I and Lou and Carla did in the kitchen. Eddie, remember that?
Sure.
It was 3 o'clock in the morning. Everybody was like super tired, and Eddie was cooking at the stove, and I'm doing the scene with Eddie, and and you see now when you watch the film, you'll know what it was, because I'm delivering my lines, and I look and I go like this, and I turn away, because he had plastic. He had styrofoam cups in the pot. He had where he goes, oh, it looks good. You want some? And I'm looking at this stuff in the pot, and I'm going, Jesus Christ! Oh my God, it was just one of my favorite memories. It was so funny.
Well, he does, Mr. Olmos. You actually, you're playing roles within roles as you take on the persona of a teacher, and you do bits.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that there's a lot of humor with the counting on the fingers bit and what you're doing with Mr. Phillips.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
there's a lot of humor in this movie that I, again, was surprised by going back and watching it again. I mean, I thought you were pretty hilarious too.
Well,
and it's,
I got to add the film, he did an amazing job as Escalante, but I'm saying Eddie is funny.
Oh yeah.
Himself is hilarious. I actually cooked for him and his family for a while. Remember that? As a chef, it's true. I'm a chef.
Great one.
But yeah, that's one thing that I love. There's the sense of humor that he brought to everything, because he kept it really light for us. He really did.
Daniel, I'm curious, when you suddenly were sort of bumped up and now you're cast in this role the day of, was there nervousness there? Was there trepidation? Was it something you embraced immediately? Were you surprised by, oh my God, now I'm in the movie, so I guess I better work well?
Actually, since I had been working on the production end of it, I was filming all the casting sessions and putting away the scenes that Eddie wanted to look at. So I was studying everybody, what everybody was doing. So by the time I got to this point, it was like I was doing it every day. So it didn't bother me at all.
You were prepared.
Oh, yeah.
Ingrid, as you watched the film develop, obviously being a younger actor and seeing all of this happen, were you surprised by how the film progressed? And could you, while it was being made, could you feel how it was going to turn out?
Yes, you knew it was bigger than you could have ever imagined. It was so good. Mm-hmm. And Eddie, because we hung out with Eddie for about 2 weeks with the school, but when the first time that Eddie walked into a scene dressed as the teacher, it was like, this man is going to get a nomination. Mm-hmm. And he deserved that nomination. Yeah. He should have won. And to me, you won that Oscar because his performance was unbelievable. So you knew everybody, there was a buzz. There was this electricity. And you knew this shit was going to be incredible.
Yeah.
And it was.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I have to ask all of you watching Mr. Olmos, one of the things in this movie that really, obviously it was for dramatic intent, but is the heart attack scene. Now, I know that was a little adding a little dramatic license to the story, but that performance, man, that scene it's unbelievable to watch. And I'm curious, were you guys on set at all watching this? And Mr. Olmos, what was it like?
We didn't see it.
Doing that?
Yeah.
Because I was like taken aback last night going, wow, now that is a performance.
that whole performance was directed by Jaime. I mean, he taught me what he did, what happened to him.
Yeah.
What happened to him, I portrayed. You got to remember, people don't get it. They say, man, this movie has got some uncanny realism that feels like a documentary. Well, it was. We were documenting Jaime's life, and it was a docudrama, and it had humor, and it had really a wonderful sense of understanding of what it was about. But when he showed me, he would show me, the way he says. Then I went to the stairwell and I was trying to get out of the room, and the attack was hitting me, and then he's as he's telling me, he's showing me. He was a teacher. He's a profound teacher. He knew exactly that if he could give me the information, I could do it. Yeah. And I meant do it, man. I mean, I imitated that man to a T. I mean, when I come down the stairwell and I'm dying, he did that. He showed me what happened to him. And he says, and then I went forward and I slid on the ground, and I went all the way down the stairs, and I hit my head at the bottom. And I said, oh boy, okay. So I told Ramon, I said, Ramon, put the camera, I need the camera way back there. I need it to be on the so we brought a crane in to follow me as I came down the stairwell. And then I said, I'm only going to do it once, Ramon. So don't get it wrong. Get it. Don't. And I told the camera person, I told everybody, I said, this is very, very dangerous, and I'm only going to do it once. And I go down. You see it. It's one shot. He comes down the steps. He's crippling down. His heart's going. And then it finally goes, and he goes straight into head dive right down the steps. And he goes and he hits the ground. And I hit the ground. There was no cushion there. There was nothing there. I just went blunk and did exactly. And then I stood up and I said, did you get it? He goes, yeah. I go, great. That's it. Let's go on to something else.
It was a very impressive bit of acting, sir.
Well, it was the story, because no one expected it. They didn't know. When I'm walking out of the room and I say, ahorita regreso, and all the classes, Spanish, they're turning.
Ahorita regreso.
They all said,
in English.
I'll be right back. Yeah.
Wow.
Yes, I'll be right back.
Yeah.
I'm dying. They're going, I'll be right back. And I walk out the door.
Yeah. I have a heart attack.
Tree Rock Creation sends in $100 and says, years ago, Mr. Phillips performed in the play A Few Good Men at the Casa Mañana Theater in Fort Worth, Texas.
Wow.
Please take this small donation to support playwrights who create compelling characters for the intelligent audience that Hollywood continues to ignore.
Wow.
Well, thank you for that. And I think that's something that we haven't talked a lot about is the screenwriting. And the playwrights and the Latino writers. One of the things that we were celebrating on our stream for Blood In, Blood Out was some terrific writing, and so that's something that we shouldn't ignore. To speak to that, how did you all feel about the screenplay itself? I know Mr. Phillips talked about a lot of improv that went on, but that the screenplay was absolutely the blueprint you followed to make the film. What was that like? What was it like to all of you? What was it like reading the script for the first time, and did you connect with it?
I did. It was such a beautiful, true, real story, and it was going to be positive. And I was born in Boyle Heights, was raised in East LA, so this was very important to me. You were going to show something positive, something real, and yes, we're smart, So I studied at the Los Angeles Theater Center, guys, for 4 years. So I want to do a special shout out to Boyle Heights, East LA, everybody that moved to West Covina and wherever you move, give us some money. Okay, come on. We need your support. And you left East LA. You left Boyle Heights. I bought a home in unincorporated East LA. So send some money, guys, please. We need you.
Well, Puddington Tang 2 sends in $100. So thanks to Puddington Tang 2.
I like
Tom, you're back. You've come into the chat. Tom from Midnight's Edge is here. Is there?
Tom, how you doing?
Hey, welcome, and nice to meet
Paul.
y'all. No, we're just getting close to wrapping things up. We're going to bring Paulie back in here in a bit. I was going to let you finish up the question, Robert, that you just asked with the rest of the cast, and then
I was going to ask all of you.
I don't know how many of us. I saw Eddie's heart attack scene at the premiere. We had no idea when we saw the film. It was, in its totality, was up in Mill Valley. Because of course we did dubbing and we did all that stuff, but still, when we experience, I know for me, when I experienced the entire film for the first time, I was blown away with it because I had not made the connection of how we did what we did and what it would end up
right.
And so, for me, I loved it, man. I always showed up early and I was like, this is great. And we did what we did. But when it was completed and we saw it the first time, I was absolutely blown away with it.
I was shaking.
Yeah.
It was 5 minutes standing ovation. And my body was just shaking.
Yeah, my suit got pulled and ripped. Actually, we get out like after the screening, and there's a big party, and there's security guards. I never forget this. And Lou was with me, and he goes, "Oh, Will, you all right?" I went, "Yeah, I'm ready. Like let's do this. Let's go out." And Lou was looking at me. He was going, "Dude, are you ready?" And I went, "Yeah, I'm good. I'm good." And the door opened up into the alley, and there was hundreds of people. People were crying. This lady grabbed and I had just this suit was given to me. So and the lady grabbed my suit, and I was like, "Hey, don't do that," And Lou was like, "Willie, wait a minute," and I was like, "What is going on?" The reception was amazing. It was from the beginning. I'm not exaggerating in saying, am I right, Eddie, that people were trying to make deals while the lights were still off on the theater.
Yes.
They were still trying to make deals for the film. And you can hear them behind us, And Ingrid says she was shaking. It was because her boyfriend was mad that I kissed her. Remember that?
It was a real French kiss.
Yeah.
And we had Ramon Musca under us.
Ramon, yeah. Good Lord. Yeah, he was great. And the other scene was the ocean scene with Lydia. I remember.
Oh, I love that. Wow.
The ocean scene that was so cold because the water was really cold. And Lydia came up to me and grabbed my hand. She goes, "I can't do it. I can't do it." I said, "Hang on, honey," and I drag her into the water.
Well, let's talk about how they brought the wrong washer and dryer.
No, and they couldn't dry our
we
clothes.
went into the water thinking we're going to come back and get our clothes washed and dry and do it again. We only had that one take. After that, it was done.
Yeah, that was so funny.
And I wasn't supposed to wet the
wig.
Yeah. And I went under.
Robert, you don't know her wig. Her wig was Arabian horse. That's what it was.
No, it wasn't. No, it was virgin red hair. Don't listen to him.
By the way, Valiant Renegade sends in a $50 donation. So thank you, Valiant Renegade.
Oh yeah, thank you very much.
Yes, please donate. Please donate. Latino
Great
Theater
panel.
needs your
Enjoyed
help
it.
and support.
Did we say hello to Patrick? It's Patrick.
Yeah, Patrick. He keeps coming in and out. Maybe he's working.
He keeps popping in and out.
Yeah, it seems that Patrick is having a bit of an issue with his either phone or tablet, whatever it is he's using. Unfortunately, StreamYards is very temperamental with that.
Yeah.
But yeah, what we're going to do is we're going to wrap things up now. We're going to say goodbye to you guys here individually. And
thank you very much.
And we want to thank you all so much for being here. I know we've raised quite a bit of money.
Awesome.
And all you guys who have donated, we're gonna go.
Keep it going.
Keep it coming.
Keep it going.
And we're gonna go through all those real soon. But we want to make sure we let everybody say goodbye here. And
hey, Eddie, love you.
I have one last question. I got one last question I have to ask Mr. Olmos. The last shot of the film, when Jaime Escalante is walking, we see his back. You punch the air. There's this great moment, and I'm wondering, was that scripted? Or was that something that you came up with in the moment?
That was Jaime. He told me exactly what he did. I said, "What did you do when you got there?" He told me the snake. He told me all about the hamburger, the chopping of the onion, the apple. All that stuff was his, and it was him. That was him. It was really him. And so I said, "What did you do?" He goes, "I walked down the hall, man. I just said, yeah." I go, "Thank you." I said, "Keep the camera rolling till I get to the end of the song."
It was so the timing of it I just loved the timing. It was so great, and it was, it wasn't like too much like John Bender in the Breakfast Club. It was just, I just loved it. Loved
it was real. Everything was real.
Feeling.
When he was in the room with the principal, and they were getting the new scores, and he's crying, and I'm crying, and I said, well, what did you do? He goes, I told him to reinstate the old ones. I said, okay, and that was that was all his dialogue. It was him, and I ended up saying, reinstate the old ones. And I'm crying. I walk out of the scene, and it was amazing. It was. May he rest in peace. That man was a genius, and he gave so much to so many, and he continues to do that to this day because we're able.
One last thing that I can't believe I didn't mention. One of my favorite scenes in the movie is you go head to head with Andy Garcia.
Woo!
And when you that scene. When you're in the room and then you just on the way out the door, you're like, if I see you out there, I'm going to kick your ass. I mean, that's a great.
That's
the shit out of you. That's what it was.
But that was put in by Ramon and Tom, and he didn't say that, but they put it in there. And he said, what do you think? I said, I think it should stay. I mean, I think it needs it. It really is the epitome of what you're going through, because inevitably they make them take the test over.
Yeah,
they did it, and he, so I'm very grateful that one line, which was very important, was put in there, because it did bring it all together.
Mr. Garcia has said in an interview that he actually got cast as one of the students, but he lobbied for the role he got. Is that true?
Yeah. We wanted him to come in and help us, and I asked him to come in and help. He's a friend of mine, and he said, "I'd like to play the ETS professor," because he was Latino. There was a black and a Latino.
Yeah.
Over, and yeah, great. Be the guy. Yes, you got the job. He was so good, because I mean, again, Andy wasn't Andy quite yet. He hadn't really got, he hadn't done, he had done it, but I don't think he had been nominated yet.
Right. I feel like this role might have been the one that kind of pushed him up towards, if he would have played one of the students, it might have been, a little different for him maybe, but I think that he knew he could do it. And I think he was right about that. And
he did it very well.
You two going head to head in that scene is, I mean, it really is the climax of the movie if you think about it. I mean, of course, there's the test, but I mean, that's like when you have your protagonist and antagonist meet each other for the last time, kind of thing. That's that moment in the film, in the story, and it's just it's fireworks when you two go off at each other. It's just great.
Well, all the three of us in the scene.
Well, yeah, of course, there's three of you all together in the scene, but you two specifically are mainly going back and forth. But yeah.
Well, I know we have to wrap this up. I want to thank all of you. It's been such a wonderful experience meeting all of you and having you here. And obviously, the Latino Theater Company is why we've all come together. And for you all to give your time, and it's been tremendous. And I know that everybody watching and everyone from Midnight's Edge and Latino Slant very much appreciate you taking the time out of your day to be here. It's been fantastic.
Thank you guys.
Thank you so much.
Seeing you guys. I love you guys.
Thank you. And I want to just say one last thing to Terje Tiberius Mork.
Yes.
From Norway. Thank you so much, because 100 plus 100 does equal 200.
Yeah.
You're right on, man.
Very cool. Very cool. Thank you guys so much. We really appreciate it.
I'm so happy we were part of this class reunion, basically, of of Stand and Deliver, and it's been amazing having you all here. I want to thank Lydia. I want to thank Ingrid. I want to thank Daniel and Will and Mr. Olmos, and of course Mr. Phillips from earlier. And I know Mr. Baco is having issues getting in here, so we thank him for trying. But yeah, I mean, hopefully we'll get a chance to talk to all of you individually again. I know Paulie's got a lot of plans, and we're going to bring him back in here as well. So as soon as you're ready, Paulie, you can pop back in. But yeah, thank you so much, guys, for being here. And I know we raised a lot of money for a good cause today, and I'm just thrilled to be a part of this and honored. And thank you, Robert, for hosting this as well.
Yeah, once again,
Robert.
Oh, well, what a tremendous honor to talk with all of you, and it's so great to revisit a film that has had such a lasting legacy on everyone who's seen it across the globe now.
Yeah.
And to be a part of something like that is I'm sure it's a great honor for all of you. But what a wonderful movie to celebrate.
And like a lot of people, I was introduced to it through school. Like my teacher actually showed us all Mr. Escalante's videos ahead of time, and then we got to watch the movie for a reward at the end of the year. And it's one of the few times I remember seeing a movie in school where I ran out right away and bought it. And I watched it like a few times because we watched it again for preparation. I'm like, God, I haven't seen this in almost 20 years. But I remember every scene, almost every line, all the funny bits we were just talking about. It's just great. And thank you so much, guys, for being a part of this. It's just an amazing film. And I know it almost spawned its own kind of genre afterwards. You had everything up until like Dangerous Minds and all kinds of other movies that kind of ripped it off. But Stand Deliver stands on its own.
And in the memory of Vanessa, in the memory of Jaime, I say God bless all of you that have donated so much to the Latino Theater Company, and thank you again for all of your help, Tom and Robert and Pablo or Polly. Polly, let me just say to you, all of you, thank you so much, every single one of you guys, and I miss you guys immensely, and I think about you guys all the time. My love to all of you, and thank you so much for having us.
All right, take care, you guys. Thank you so much. God bless.
Happy belated birthday, Tom.
Yeah, take care.
Bye-bye.
Thank you so much for being here, guys.
What a wonderful experience. Will, Daniel.
Yes. How do I get out?
That's all right. Just go ahead and exit out, and we'll take care of you.
Here we go.
All right. So, Paulie,
well, gentlemen,
welcome back.
I got to say, personally, for me, thank you for involving me, because that was, once again, Paulie, once again, Tom, that kind of defined epic for me. That was what a wonderful stream. And, you know, I think people forget that we who do movie punditry and fan punditry on the internet, there's a lot of times when people forget that we all participate in streams like this that are not only for a good cause, but are very uplifting and celebratory, and really celebrate the art form that we love so much, which is movies. And to be able to have actors and directors and people to come on board and have these conversations, man, it makes it all worthwhile. So thank you so much for including me. I love doing these, and I look forward to doing many more with you guys.
Absolutely. And don't you guys go anywhere. We're going to go through all your donations right now. I don't know how much more time you have, Robert.
Hey, man.
Paulie, yeah, let's crack into these. I don't know if Andre's going to hop back into, but if not, we also have Mike here in the back. I don't know if he's planning on hopping in with us, but hey.
I want to know if Mike's had a heart attack.
I'm wondering why you guys couldn't hear me before.
Yeah, you've been muted.
Where did you say, Robert?
Did we do right by you? I was wondering if your head exploded from excitement.
Yeah. First of all, my head definitely did explode from excitement. I literally went from, okay, well, for 2 days we've been trying to test Zoom, and I didn't sleep all night. Basically, I was so nervous about today because I didn't want things to go wrong for you. And me and Andre, where's Andre? Andre did a great job. We've been up, and we got up early, and we tackled it. Paulie's done great. Tommy been made script doctor. Thanks for helping out last night. Yeah, I went from relieved to then excited. I started shaking. And then when I threw that super chat out, I just wrote it. Like, I didn't really think about it. I just, and I just sent it, right? And, hey, Andre, hey, brother. And when he read that on stage, first of all, I saw Paulie crack. And, yeah, it meant a lot. Thanks, Rob. It meant a lot.
I just have to say,
you guys got to understand that it just means something a little different, because he literally taught family members,
right?
Wow.
And fuck, man, I was keeping busy because I couldn't believe Lou Diamond and Eddie were here, and I have total trust in you, Robert, which you are amazing as always.
Historical
my brother,
moment, guys.
my brother,
really.
But then when pinche Mexican Iron Man busts out that super chat, I lost it, man. I was like trying to read it. I was like, okay, I gotta get off.
Well, I also want to say both Mr. Lou Diamond Phillips and Mr. Edward James Olmos, my God, what I you know, you never know when you talk with celebrities, but I couldn't imagine two more wonderful guys. I mean, I could hang out with them all afternoon.
They've been amazing so far.
Yeah, they were amazing.
Yep.
And Paulie, I mean, you really deserve a lot, Mike, for putting this together the way you have. I mean, when we came up with the initial idea, for those who don't know, this kind of started from Paulie and I going, we got to do a La Bamba reunion, which hasn't happened yet. We hope we can still put that together. But if you would have told us we were going to pull together a Blood In, Blood Out and a Stand and Deliver reunion of all things, we'd have laughed. We would have never thought we'd have been able to pull this off. But Paulie, your ambition to do it and Mike's ability to help us with it in the background, and you know, of course, Robert, you did a lot to help us with the Blood In, Blood Out, and just being here for this and everything like that has been amazing. And of course, Andre just allowing it to happen. You know? So I mean, and
that was
you put it to it as well.
Easy decision, very easy decision. It was a team effort to make it all happen behind the scenes and everything. So my thanks to all of you guys and to all of the actors and actresses that came in, and to everyone in the chat who were here watching, commenting, being part of the community, and of course supporting the lovely Latino Theater Company and the important job they do with your super chats. And we do have a list to go through there.
Let's we're gonna do that now. And you guys, thank you so much.
So I'm going to pop out too. I just wanted to say thank you, Andre, for your leadership. I've been a long time fan of Midnight Edge for well over 2 years. To see my favorite channel, I've respected you and Tom for so long, so much. Paulie, R&B, I followed you for so long since the Star Trek documentary days. To see you guys, who I'm a fan of, on screen, and I'm sitting here, Mr. Little volunteer producer guy, and then Edward James Olmos, Diamond Phillips on the cast. Poof! I had to walk away for 20 minutes. I was listening and watching, but Nation Airman lost it like a southeastern thunderstorm on a June bug in the middle of June. So you know, but you guys have great. Read all the super chats. Thanks everyone for donating, and I'll see you guys later. Bye.
Thanks for being here, Mike, and thanks for everything, man.
Yeah, thanks for everything you do. You are such a vital part of this community and in making this happen. So thanks,
boss.
And just, you know, just so you guys know, there was a technical difficulty, so we're doing super chats differently. And we couldn't stay as connected as we would normally love to in the chat. So we're gonna go through these right now. You guys want to help me read them?
Sure.
Yeah, sure. If you
sure, let's get going. Yeah.
Durao On says for €5, loved Miami Vice.
Great show.
Of course, we all did. And Elijah Snow says for $9.99, a pleasure to hear from two actors whose work I respect. A delight to see you reunited. That
was pretty cool.
It was really cool.
Yeah, I also want to take a moment to thank Brandon as well for all the stuff he's done as well. So we don't want to forget him either. So thank you for that, guys. You guys did a great job sponsoring it and helping us out. So thank you.
Yeah, Mr. Burnett, would you like to do a couple of the super chats?
52 movies a year, $4.99. Thank you for that. Thank you for allowing us the pleasure of your amazing work. You are both amazing actors and even better people. I'd agree with that. Grand Wazoo 42 for €20. Mr. Olmos and Mr. Phillips, you could not imagine how often a young man in Europe watched your movies while growing up and since. What an honor to have you here. Thanks for doing that.
That got cut out. Sorry about that, Grand Wazoo.
And I know they didn't get to see all your guys' messages, guys, and we apologize, but I know they felt the love. And I think Mr. Olmos was just flabbergasted. And that we were a worldwide audience here.
Yeah. Anti-Derivative Jill. What a great name. $5. Stand and Deliver is among my favorite movies, and it carried me through my own AP tests. Thanks for those marvelous performances. Think cool.
Yeah, that's such a great scene.
It's so good.
Oh, my God.
Jesus Davia, $53.
Wow.
Just here enjoying the stream. Thumbs up to that.
Davila.
And every little bit helps,
Davila.
guys. So thank you so much for that.
Tim, go ahead, please.
No, you go ahead.
I got to copy and paste some more. So
Oh,
yeah, no,
all
I can do that one. Timon FLP says for 20 Brazilian real. My grandfather was a math teacher. My father and mother are retired math teachers, all of public schools here in Brazil. This movie is one of the few my mom own a copy.
Wow.
A son gift.
There you go.
That's cool.
Yeah, and I
Very
mean,
cool.
Mr. Escalante is one of those teachers. We brought this up a few times now, especially last night, where, I mean, he kind of changed the public school system almost single-handedly.
Yeah.
I mean, these kids were being ignored, shuffled, swept under the rug, and he made sure everybody got a shot.
He demanded they got.
He demanded it. Yeah.
One of the things I didn't bring up was I loved in the film. One of my favorite moments is where Escalante's in the school. Well, he's in the board meeting with the school, and he's like, "Look, you need to demand these kids step up, and they will. You've got to give them a chance to do their best." And I love that idea because so often I don't believe in mediocrity. I believe in a meritocracy and let people stand up and do their best because Jaime Escalante believed that they would. And he was right. And I think that's really an important lesson that you can take away from this movie. I think more than ever, we need the message of let's all be excellent. Why expect mediocrity? Like, let's stand up and let's stand and deliver what we're capable of doing. So I think that's something that really struck me as I watched the movie again last night.
Very poignant, yeah.
It's so funny because Jeff Rivas just texted me. He's like, "Are you guys happy?" I'm like,
"Ecstatic, man. Tell him we got to start working on La Bamba now." So
yeah, exactly. Yeah. Get back to work, Jeffrey. You want some more theater money? You get me Battlestar Galactica reunion. You get me La Bamba reunion,
and then we'll start talking Young Guns and yeah.
Ooh, Ranguera for $15. I went to college with one of the stand and deliver kids. He didn't tell us until graduation. Love Stand and Deliver, Blade Runner, Battlestar Galactica, La Bamba, Vice, Miami Vice. God bless you, gentlemen.
Wow, that's amazing, Ron.
That's a pretty good one, Ron.
We got the General Zod.
And he says Stand and Deliver was great because it was about working hard. No excuses. Could it be made today?
Great question. We brought that up last night, didn't we?
Wow. I would say in this climate,
it should be made today. Whether or not it could is a different matter, but it definitely should be.
I think we decided, or at least came to the conclusion, it probably would focus on much different aspects of the story. Because there was a lot of points we brought up last night, just in the way the story's told. Compared to the way movies are told today, where we were like, oh, this movie would just stop right now to tell us, oh, we're in 1982 spring, blah, 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 blah. And it would really get into and stop the film for so many things that we normally wouldn't back then. Right. And it just kind of progressed naturally throughout the film, and the messages are all there. And it's a great message, and it's done in a way that we keep talking about today is more natural and organic and not forced.
Okay.
No, I agree. That's one of the things I really liked about this movie is how naturalistic it was.
This is 2-1. Rob Altus for 5, gentlemen. Always loved your performances. Much appreciation. Slade Wilson, $5. Mr. Olmos, what was the mood like on the set when filming the scene where Boomer shot you? So say we all. Well, we'll say.
Sorry, we didn't get to ask him, but you never know. Yeah. We may have Mr. Almost back, so we'll try and remember that.
We have Mr. Lou Diamond Phillips on speed dial.
You have no idea.
What a cool
just
dude!
Been trippy
what a
as
cool
shit.
Dude! Wow.
Then we got Lord Trinan with $20. Says, I don't watch many true story films, but they get showed. But they showed me Stand and Deliver in school, and I had to buy it and watch it again and again. Yeah, same experience for me, man. And I love biopics, but I'm also well aware that 9 times out of 10, 90% of the movie is bullshit and 10% is true. In this case, though, you can rest assured, even Mr. Escalante himself said about 90% is real, and the rest is, drama. But
there's a part 2 to that.
Oh, you all stood tall and worked hard to create memorable film, and you really delivered. Yeah, they did. Or we wouldn't be talking about it to this day. And then we got Tired Retro Gamer Alita sending in $2. Doesn't say anything, but thank you for the donation to the theater. We appreciate that. And then go ahead, Andre, if you want to go from there for a bit.
Certainly. Then we have CM Chunk, who says for 20 Canadian dollars, greetings from Vancouver. My favorites from Battlestar Galactica and Stargate U. Thank you, Edward James Olmos and Lou Diamond Phillips, for being part of great shows and movies I grew up on. I look forward to seeing more fantastic shows and movies I can show my children.
Awesome.
Very good point there.
Good.
And 200 Watt Studios says for $20, Mr. Olmos, would you mind talking about your experiences on Wolfen? Well, again, as we said before, we regret that we couldn't get to that question when we had him here, but maybe we'll have him on later, and we'll definitely be asking him that then.
Yeah.
Golgo13, aka Brandon the Infinite Wolf, says for $10, I am not a smart man, but I do know what greatness is when I see it. Inspiration, persistence, encouragement. There's maybe a part 2 there.
Yep, sorry.
And belief can be the best gift that can be given. Bless you, gentlemen, and bless all. And TC says for $9.99, brown guys in space, quoting Lou Diamond Phillips. General Sod, the first power, needs to be mentioned and respected. And Stephen Otten said for $5 for Stand and Deliver, for La Bamba, for Battlestar, for Miami Vice. Thank you.
Thank you, Stephen Otten. Thank you both.
And C. Fuyikawa sent us $50. Well, thank you so much. Or not us, but the Latino Theater, $50. No message, but thank you for the support. It will go to a very good cause. And ActionCom says, to Mr. Olmos, forgive me for prying, but how did you gain the 41 pounds for the role?
Another one we'll have to add to
another one for a later date.
But we'll definitely do our best to get Mr. Olmos back at a really soon, because there's a lot of stuff we want to ask him. Of course.
Yes.
There's
and
a
then
big one.
A big one, yeah, from Red Dog No, who says for $100. In high school, I had Jaime Escalante and Joe Clark quotes in my room. My small part for the Latino theater. If it produces a fraction of talent as we have here, then we are all we. There's a part 2, I think.
There's a part 2, I think.
I don't have it.
Okay, well, wait. I'll find it here.
If you find it here, let's go on.
Yeah, I can find it here in the
rest of it
meantime.
there.
Just give me 1 second and I'll find it here.
ActionCom.
I got it.
Okay.
My small part for Latino theater, if it produces a fraction of the talent as we have here, then we are well served.
Gotcha. I knew it was like just a little word. ActionCom for $5 to Mr. Phillips. What do you think of the Stand and Deliver poster when you first saw it? Then Slade Wilson for $10. Mr. Phillips, how much of Richie Valens' work did you study to prepare for? Oh, man.
And that's another one we'll definitely want to ask if we can get Mr. Phillips back. Which I think is probably a good chance. So
also, are there any other funny, crazy behind-the-scenes stories from Young Guns?
And again, this is the other thing, too, is we knew there was going to be a lot of stories and questions we wanted to ask from their other films. So we'll definitely try and get them all back individually. We still got to work on getting some of the Blood In, Blood Out guys back individually as well. And then we got General Zod here, who says, no one can give a stare like Almost. Maybe Eastwood? Yeah, it's true.
Okay, let me see. Moving
then
on.
We'll Robert do a few more if you want.
Max Relax. I believe is that 20 euros?
That's great.
Thank you for
€40, yeah.
Yeah, thank you for a masterful performance in Battlestar Galactica, Mr. Olmos, sir. He was truly great. House Atreides with $10 Canadian. I was blown away with Stand and Deliver the first time I saw the movie. One scene I get a big smile out of was when the Patrick Baca character, Javier, was reading the novel Dune.
I
was
last
going to
night.
mention that because that's right in the beginning of the
we
film.
all
You see
did.
that they're reading Dune, and it's like, all right, maybe that's product placement for this year. Who knows?
Well, Warner Brothers would actually have to release a Blu-ray to promote it, maybe.
I know.
'Cause this thing has only been on DVD, and it's not in the best quality. There is an HD print out there in streaming, but it's also not the best of quality. But
Yeah. Action Com for $5 says, was anyone at the first screening in San Francisco? What was that like? Well, they did say Mill Valley. They did talk about that screening. I believe that's the one that you're referring to. They had a great time. People had their suits ripped. Aro Live Gaming for $4.99 says, bring back Prodigal Son. That's the show that Mr. Ludwig Phillips is on. Action Com for $5. When was the decision made to change the name from Walking on Water to Stand and Deliver? I don't know. That's an interesting question. That's a really
great
good
question.
Yeah. And I
Walking
wonder if
on
because
water.
that's a lyric from the Mr. song at the end of the movie, isn't it?
the Stand and Deliver.
Yeah.
I think so. I did see a bit of trivia that said they may have gotten the title from that, but it just almost feels like, I mean, just explaining the movie, like you said earlier, Robert, just the natural conclusion is that phrase.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, which I loved. I mean, it's great.
Stand and deliver. Of course, I think of that. Glogo.
Go ahead.
Glogo 13, aka Brandon, the Infinite Wolf, for $5. We need more movies that inspire. We need more people like Mr. Olmos and Mr. Phillips, etc. All who are professionals and exude professionalism. Cheers. I mean, that's a big. Yeah. I mean, how can we? We talked about this. How could this movie was so? And I also said to Robert how well crafted this film was, where it touched on every social issue that it was about. It was a true story, but it had so much heart, so much wonderful storytelling that it wasn't about just those social issues.
And it never went into stereotypes. You thought it might have, like the gang stereotypes, but even then, it didn't. You know, and it really respected all of the characters, and that's what I liked about it, is that it didn't pander, and it was always on the side of these characters to do good. And I really enjoyed that about the film. It's not something I really remembered about it, but seeing it again, it's very interesting watching a movie when you revisit it sometimes years or decades later, how your perception of it changes. Just
I pointed that out last night a little bit, like how, when going back to the question of how they would do it different now, like Paul and I were bringing it up with the group when we were watching it, and we're like, yeah, I don't think they would have given each one of these kids the time they did now. Like, because if you watch the film, each one of those kids gets their own little moment, and you know, nowadays they would have focused on 2 or 3 of the kids, and that's
right.
it. The rest would have been no names. We would have never known their names. They'd have just been there in the background, and it would all been about like Lou Diamond Phillips, the mousy girl, and you know, the jockey guy, and that's it. You know, like we wouldn't have known any of the other kids probably because they wouldn't have wasted any time on the rest of that stuff. But you're right. We get just enough from every one of these characters, and the way the film just progresses. And Paulie and I kept bringing this up of how they just threw in little tidbits here and there. So you knew how much time had kind of passed, where they were, you know, because you're actually seeing 2 years of these kids' lives basically.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
It would have been Wokoso.
Yeah. It would have been very Wokoso now.
Just saying.
Just
okay. Where do we?
Yeah, we were.
Here we go.
Gogo, I think, was the last one.
Yeah.
200 Watt Studios says Edward James Olmos was such a genuine man that remembers that he discovered someone while they were sweeping.
That was great. Thank you for that.
Grand Wazoo sent in a very generous €100 super chat. Says, for art, the theater, and culture, thanks for being here. Well, thank you for that, Grand Wazoo 42. And then Gulgo 13, aka Brandon the Infinite Wolf, says, my daughter is half Latina. I am trying to raise her to respect and appreciate all of her heritage. I wish I could send some more money, but I support what I can. And no, you guys have done amazing. Every little bit helps here. I know we did great for Blood In, Blood Out. I have a feeling we did better for this. So just onward and upward, guys. We're doing a great job, and I'm sure we're going to be planning some more things like this. So this is not going to be your last chance to help out either. So, and this will stay up, and we'll continue to do our best to continue this kind of work.
Jackie Randazzo for $20. Thank you for sharing your gifts. My family came from Puerto Rico and El Salvador. I worked hard to achieve what we have today. Education was always of utmost importance. So many fond memories and pride from your work.
Well, education is always the key to success. So there you go. Yeah. And then Yasser Ansari says, great live stream. Thank you so much for your donation and being here. We appreciate it. Stephen Otten, our buddy, says $20. Thank you all for coming, and thank you for a classic inspirational film that deserves to be remembered for generations. And I think it will be. In the last few years, I think it may have been kind of overlooked a little more. But as long as schools still show it and stuff like that, I think it'll always be around. So,
okay.
Agreed.
Rave Forever sends in $10. Says, awesome, guys. Thank you for being here. Thank you. Then we got Joachim Stark with, I think that's 100. What is that?
Well, maybe is it Joaquin?
Is it Joaquin Stark?
Joaquin
Stark?
Yeah, that's 100
South African
Swedish krona.
Or Swedish krona. Okay.
Swedish
And
krona,
it says
that's what it
thank
is.
you, and thank you for the very generous donation. Thank you. Oh, and our own very own Diego Flores sends in 5 Peruvian souls and says, Mike, your donation inspired me to make a donation of my own directly to the Latino Theater Company.
There will be no further crying in the Mexican iron suit today, ladies and gentlemen. Diego, you're going to crack me, Diego.
Now, Paulie, isn't there something to do with the donation button on the website itself? Or there was something you were bringing to my attention earlier that
That wasn't
me.
That was
I
me.
just read it. Oh, that was Mike? Oh, okay.
Yeah, I was going to say you can't. A lot of people were saying, hey, I want to donate directly to them so YouTube doesn't take it split. But guys, what we're going to do,
Okay.
Paulie and I
Let
worked
me
out.
contact Jeff right now. Let me get an answer. Let's keep reading.
Well, I know that
Yeah, sure.
the button
No
doesn't
problem.
work. I already tried it.
Yeah, I just
Right,
wanted
but
to-
maybe
yeah.
there's maybe there's a PayPal link that we can put up after the thing goes.
after the stream. Yeah,
that's a great idea.
Yep.
Oh, right.
So if you can find that out, Paulie, that's great, and we can continue to keep going here. Orville Nation, our very own friend PJ says, excellent interview, guys. Congrats. Well, thank you for being here, PJ. We appreciate that.
Thank you so much.
Tom, let me just say one more thing real quick for the folks donating, especially if on the super chats. Everybody knows that YouTube takes a cut. Paul and I are working out a game plan, and for the 30% that YouTube's going to keep from the donations, we're going to match that so that they get the full dollars of what everybody's donated.
Yes, and so will we. So don't you worry about that. We will make sure that the full amount is donated.
By the way, I got to give a shout out to Bertrand Kurt Russell. That is very clever, very funny. I see what you did there. Nicely done. As someone who's read some Bertrand Russell, I know what you mean. So
yeah, and there was
great.
it was a like a clapping bravo. I don't know if it was a wolf or what little animal it was.
It looked like a Shiba Inu.
Okay, there you go. And this I think this is the last one.
Yeah, no, actually, the Jack of all Casual sent us $19.99 saying.
No, yeah, it's up. I put it up.
Oh yeah, there you go. Yeah, perfect. And he is saying currently working, so I can't watch it live, but will definitely see the replay. The movie is one of those movies that inspired me growing up, and hopefully I can show it to my children one day, and they're as inspired as well.
Absolutely.
One just came in.
Then we got Disruptive Innovator who says, excellent job. Thanks, guys, and hail chat. Yes, hail to you guys for being here. Thank you so much for that. We could not do this without you. All your donations, all your support means everything to us, and thank you. That's all I can really say.
Yeah. And in between those, we also had Gran Wasu 42. You got that one, Polly?
Just right now?
In between the Jack of all Casuals. And
He said Mr. Olmos and Mr. Phillips looked like they felt real comfortable and respected. Great job from Robert Meyer Burnett, Paulie, Andre, and the whole Emmys team. Sackhoff and Olmos BSG stream. You never know. We can just hope to get some time with Mr. Olmos because, this thing. And again, I say to Paulie, I could not give him enough credit for juggling this. I mean, the amount of people that we had on here and showed up and what was pulled off today was just amazing. And bravo to you, Mike, and everybody else for your guys, everything you guys have done here.
I also want to say that too. I wanted to reiterate all the production and the behind the scenes, how you guys organized it. This was as slick and professional as it gets. Paulie organizing this, Mexican Iron Man, Andre, Tom. It was very easy to do, and I thought you guys did a tremendous job putting this together and making it go smooth and by the numbers. It was really well done.
Well, Paulie's really the conductor, and you're the engineer, Mike. So there you go. That's the best way I can describe him.
Thank you, R&B. As long the thing is that was it better than the last time? That's always my.
I think so.
My marker.
I don't know how we managed to pull it off to be more, but I think we did. I think just the fact that we were able to get Mr. Olmos and Mr. Phillips together alone. Let's not even talk about the rest of the people we managed to get in here. Just to get those two together alone, I think was a feat in and of itself. And you deserve all the praise for that, Paulie. So there you go.
We got another donation. Thank you, by the way. Thank you. But we have another. This just came in.
Yeah, that's from
Andre. You want to read this?
Ulrich Cole sent us 100 Danish krona, saying, "Man, what legends coming to a small stream to support a worthy cause. Much respect." Oh, thank you, Ulrich.
Thank you,
Ulrich. And you always want to leave the people that agree to come on. You want to leave them feeling good about what they've done and that they had a good time. And I think everyone did. Everyone was smiling. I think they really had a good time being here.
I hope
so.
Well,
it seemed like it was a real reunion for them.
Yeah. And I even suggested to Andre to change the title to Class Reunion as a joke.
Yeah, well, I'll do that for after the fact. So that's what it's going to be remembered for in history.
I thought it was incredibly touching when he said, when Mr. Olmos said, hey, Ollie, I thought there were two things that were incredibly touching. One was at the end where he said, I miss you all. I think about all of you all the time. And there was an earlier in the stream when R&B asked him a question, and he twice referred to them as kids.
Yeah.
He said, they're, of course he's a bit older, but they're all in their 40s or 50s or something ish, give or take. And to him, they're still kids. And he said, he said it twice, and my little heart just melted when he said that, because he still sees them the way he saw them way back when. R&B. Did you catch that?
Yeah, I did, and I love that. I thought it was great.
It did really feel almost like a teacher and class reunion for a bit there. It really was. You could feel the connection between them, and that's genuine.
Really this just came in. Maria Chacon for $10. Gracias, Maria. Wow. Keep on bringing it in. I love it.
Awesome.
And we also got two others. Says for $5. Congratulations on this reunion panel. My mother and I loved this stream. Thank you for bringing this to us.
I'll do Krusty Moko.
Yeah, because Krusty Moko also sent 10. So yeah, you do that one.
Krusty Moko with $10. Paulie and Mexican Iron Man really hit me emotionally, and I'm generally dead inside.
Well, he is a Krusty Moko.
That is awesome.
Yeah, I mean, your Moko has to be crusty in order to be dead. Anyway, he said, here's some more for the theater. Here's some more for the theater, he says.
Yeah, he has to have a little bit Norwegian in him also, just for being dead inside. So,
oh God.
and that catches us up for now. So I think we're gonna wrap things up there. Thank you so much, guys, for being here. Thank you, Robert, once again. Thank you, Paulie. Thank you, Mike. Thank you, Diego and Pablo and Brandon, of course, for also all their work as well. Thank you to the cast if they're still listening. It was an honor to meet all of you. Thank you, Andre, of course, for helping facilitate this as well. I'm just stunned at that we got to pull this off. I can't believe it. So hopefully this is
and
many
Paulie,
more.
in honor of our brethren who have made this happen, do we have honorary Chicano or Latino cards or hats for Andre, Tom, and R&B, or we'll get those printed later?
We're gonna get them Mocoso t-shirts.
Oh yeah,
awesome. Yeah.
The order, I believe the order's in this week, right?
Sweet.
Mexican? I believe the order has been made. Yeah, and I'd like to thank Jeffrey Rivas and the Latino Theater Company, and Midnight's Edge, and all of the we got a couple more super chats, and all the great midnighters that are. We had at one time almost 500 and still over 330 people watching. Wow. Wow. Thank you.
Yeah, you guys are amazing. I can't believe this. But yeah, we had a couple more you said show up here. Yeah, we got Eric K. Go ahead.
I'll copy and paste right now.
Says, I will catch this later. Sorry I missed it. Well, thank you for being here, Eric K. Just the same. And 200 Watt Studio said one of the best parts was when Mr. Olmos said he was a teacher when talking about the heart attack scene. Yeah, well, and that's the thing is, I know he didn't talk about it much, but yeah, Mr. Olmos worked very closely with Mr. Escalante to make sure he got it all right. I mean, he was very worried about that.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So thank you for that, guys. We appreciate that. So, Paulie, anything to say before we go?
I mean, in regards to this movie and Edward James Olmos, he should have gotten the Academy Award.
Hey, he lost to Dustin Hoffman in Rain Man, though. There could have been worse.
He should have gotten the award. He should.
I'm not going to argue that. I'm just going to say there could be worse.
You asked me. This is not a time to argue right now. You asked me my thoughts. Go.
No, absolutely.
And
I just think that should be said. It wasn't just some, out there role that nobody remembers. So yeah.
Okay, Andre and R&B, we'll have your Wokoso shirts out in the mail immediately. Tom, I
love you guys.
I love Mr.
Robert
Olmos.
Meyer, man, you killed it, brother. Thank you, man. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I'm so honored to be asked to do these things, and it's fun because I get to find things out, to ask the questions I've always wanted to ask, and to meet these esteemed stars is, people I grew up watching. I mean, when I saw Zoot Suit, it really did have an impression on me. Because, when you and I first started talking, Paulie, I talked about moving to LA and Chicano culture and like lowrider culture, which is something that we didn't have in Seattle. And I loved going to East Los Angeles and finding great restaurants and things like that. And part of the reason was because my dad took me to see Zoot Suit. I knew nothing about it. When I saw it, I'm like, wow, this existed. And there were the Zoot Suit riots in LA. And what did it mean to wear? I just thought Edward James Olmos as Pachuco was like the coolest guy. I'm like, I want to be that dude when I grow up, and to actually talk to him was amazing.
It was surreal as hell, I'll tell you. And we got another super chat from.
Yeah, I can
go
do
ahead.
this one. It's from Robert Meyer Burnett's friend and my fellow countryman Terje Tiberius Mørk, who says, for 200 Norwegian krona for a good cause. This is for you, Mexican Iron Man.
Nice.
Oh, bro. Thanks, man. Thank you, brother.
And
You're gonna get rust on that.
I'm actually very touched to see how this stream has touched you, man. And I mean, I knew it was important to you, but I didn't realize how important. But yeah, I'm just so glad you were able to be a part of this, man.
Yeah.
Yeah. So thank you, Mike, for helping making this the success it was.
Hey, thanks you, Andre, for getting up at the crack of dawn with me this morning and working out the tech issues. Hey, thanks, Mr. Tiberius Mork, sir. Thank you very much. Hey,
all right.
I think we should end this with, can we show that video again of Miss Marquez?
I think we should actually dedicate the stream to her. Absolutely.
I think that'd be great.
Thanks a lot, everyone.
Thanks a lot, guys.
Bye, everybody.
The cast of the movie Stand and Deliver came together today in downtown LA to celebrate their co-star Vanessa Marquez. South Pasadena police shot and killed Marquez during a wellness check at her home.
The cast of the 1988 movie Stand and Deliver honored their co-star this afternoon at the Los Angeles Theater Center.
We've all been very close. This is our first family member that we've lost.
Her fellow actors also considered Marquez to be a trailblazer.
Vanessa's work speaks for itself and her work ethic. We have come to a place in Hollywood where there is more inclusion, but it was people like Vanessa who opened that door.
She wouldn't be who she was if she didn't have this incredible desire to be someone.
She was always very shy. She had that little mousy voice.
What you got?
Missing 25%.
She blossomed. She could sing and she could do comedy.
She was hilarious. She was hilarious.
I'm so nauseous, oh so nauseous. It's obnoxious how nauseous I feel.
She's a real inspiration to young Latino women everywhere, you know, and to actresses everywhere, regardless of your background, that if you believe in yourself and you're fierce enough to do the work, you know, that you can stake out your own territory and make a life out of it.